subscribe, like the video, and, if possible, join Patreon. But if you don't have much money, you can support the channel by watching the novels on euroaudiobooks.com. Remember that you can participate in the polls so that your favorite novel gets published for free.
Roger followed the original plan, making the initially angry Hulk even angrier. As the Hulk became even more furious, the Hulk also became stronger. Taking advantage of the fact that the Hulk had yet to launch an attack, Roger took advantage of the opportunity to leave a Flying Thunder God's formula on his body. When he finished all this, Hulk's anger erupted like a volcano. The Hulk let out a roar that was completely unlike a human's, and then he waved his arms like an angry gorilla. At this time, the Hulk had utterly lost his mind. Right now, all he had left was pure attack instinct and boundless rage that filled his entire mind. Even General Ross and the others who were more than 100 meters away reacted immediately after seeing the Hulk's current appearance. The Hulk had gone completely crazy. Without the slightest hesitation, after seeing that the Hulk had completely lost his mind, General Ross decisively gave the order to retreat. In any case, the SHIELD agent with the strange mask was still there. Even if they retreated, it would not have any effect. Just like General Ross, the captain of SHIELD Special Forces also gave the order to retreat as soon as he saw that the Hulk goes completely angry. Why did you retreat as well? When the captain of Ross Special Forces and SHIELD Special Troops saw that the other side's people were retreating quickly, the same doubt appeared in their minds. They still thought that Roger was a soldier from the other side. After leaving Flying Thunder God's formula behind on the Hulk's body, Roger continuously casts several body flickering techniques, instantly pulling away the distance between him and the Hulk. At this time, although the Hulk was entirely dominated by anger, his instinct constantly reminded him that Roger was the most dangerous and most needed to be solved. Almost at the moment when Roger's figure just became clear, the Hulk ran towards him at speed far faster than before. If the Hulk's previous sprinting speed was the speed of an F1 racing car, then his current sprinting speed was the extreme speed of the F-22 Raptor fighter jet. Although the Hulk displayed a speed far exceeding his previous pace, when he arrived in front of Roger, Roger again disappeared from his line of sight. Flying Thunder God technique. This time, Roger was not using body flickering technique, but Flying Thunder God technique. The reason why he had left Flying Thunder God's formula on the Hulk was for this moment. Through Flying Thunder God technique, he teleported to the back of the Hulk. The position of teleportation was just above the back of the Hulk's head. When he completed the teleportation, a Rasengan with a diameter of about 1 meter appeared in his right hand. Without any hesitation, he directly hit the Rasengan in his right hand on the Hulk's head. Boom! A loud explosion like an intercontinental missile sounded, and at the same time, it set off a blast of air like a level 12 hurricane. The soldiers of the United States and SHIELD agents who were retreating were attracted by the loud sound and involuntarily turned to look at where the sound came from. Then, they saw an unbelievable scene. In front of them, the Hulk, who was like a god of war, was heavily knocked down to the ground at this time. At the Hulk's falling position, the surrounding dozens of meters of ground had huge cracks like spider webs. After knocking the Hulk down, Roger once again arrived in front of the Hulk. Then, under the watchful eyes of everyone, he directly took the Hulk away. Although General Ross and the others had witnessed this scene with their own eyes, they had no idea what was happening. They only saw Roger place his right hand on the Hulk, and then the two of them strangely disappeared into thin air. After knocking the Hulk down for a short while, Roger brought the Hulk to the Death Valley, which was like an alien environment. Although Death Valley was a famous geographical location in the United States, there would not be any people here all year round. Even the tourists who specially came to visit would at most only see the edge of Death Valley. The only people who could genuinely go deep into the center of the Death Valley, apart from the researchers who studied the environment of the Death Valley, were those exceptional individuals who needed to stay away from human society. This was the second time that Roger had come here. The last time he had come here was more than 2 years ago. That time, he had accepted a commission of $10,000. It took him nearly a week to travel through several states before finding the target he was looking for here. The target was a middle-aged man who looked extremely simple and honest. But this man was a serial killer who had killed more than 10 young women. The ones who entrusted him were the parents of one of the victims. Roger did not know where the couple had heard the news from, so he specially came to his office. Then, they used the remaining $10,000 in their account as a commission fee and entrusted him with it. The commission passed the system's judgment, so he accepted the commission. After killing the psycho killer who had been committing crimes for 10 years here, he followed the agreement and brought the head of this pervert back to the couple. Chapter 70. Mission accomplished. After coming here again, Roger couldn't help but recall the scene at that time. At that time, he was still a young man full of youth. After lying on the ground for a few seconds, the Hulk, who Reencarnacion knocked down, shook his head and stood up in a daze. Until now, the Hulk did not know what had just happened. To knock down the Hulk, who had an incredible constitution, Roger deliberately used Big Ball Reencarnacion, who he had not completely mastered. Although Big Ball Reencarnacion looked only a little bigger than Reencarnacion, the difficulty of controlling it rose sharply, and the requirements for chakra volume were several times higher. The Hulk was the first person to bear Big Ball Reencarnacion's power, and the only one who has felt its power. The Hulk, who stood up again, shook his head first, and after getting rid of the dizzy feeling, he looked at his surroundings. Looking at the unfamiliar surroundings, the Hulk, even though he was dominated by anger, revealed a puzzled expression. Then, he saw Roger wearing a white, the Magatama mask. When he saw Roger, the Hulk's heart immediately surged with uncontrollable, boundless anger. Without any hesitation, the Hulk immediately attacked Roger. When the Hulk's right fist, which was even bigger than an ordinary person's head, swung towards Roger, Roger's right hand once again formed a Reencarnacion. Unlike Big Ball Reencarnacion just now, what he condensed at this time was an ordinary Reencarnacion, but the size was similar to the Hulk's fist. Boom! When the Hulk's right fist collided with Reencarnacion in Roger's hand, a violent chakra storm erupted. The Hulk's right fist smashed Reencarnacion in Roger's hand, but his right fist also withstood Reencarnacion's full power. An unimaginably powerful force enveloped the Hulk's entire right arm, constantly twisting and tearing apart his right arm. If it were an ordinary person, their entire body would be twisted and torn apart when this force enveloped them. Even if it was a steel body, it would be unable to contend against this powerful force. However, the Hulk relied on his body, which was strong to the point of cheating, to resist Reencarnacion's might forcefully. When the Hulk shattered Reencarnacion, Roger decisively used body flickering technique to increase the distance between him and the Hulk and, simultaneously, avoid being enveloped by the chakra storm. Although the Hulk endured all of Reencarnacion's might, Reencarnacion did not cause too much damage to him, only causing his right arm to feel a pain he had never experienced before. Roger was not surprised by this result. If the Hulk were so easy to be knocked down, General Ross would have grabbed the Hulk long ago. Looking at the Hulk's 3-meter-tall giant body, a crazy idea suddenly came to Roger's mind. For knocking down the Hulk, Reencarnacion couldn't do it by itself. But if the one who hit the Hulk was not Reencarnacion but Big Ball Reencarnacion, the result would be very different. After mastering Reencarnacion, Roger had the plan of self-taught himself the Big Ball Reencarnacion, and he quietly studied for a while. This was also the reason why he was able to use Big Ball Reencarnacion previously. However, he had not wholly grasped Big Ball Reencarnacion, this ninjutsu. Whether or not he could successfully use it still depended on his luck at that time. After seriously thinking for a second or two, he decided he wanted to complete Big Ball Reencarnacion studies here. Using the pressure brought about by the Hulk's attack at any time, he forced himself to unleash even more potential. Although this decision seemed very rash, he decided to be reckless once. In the next few hours, in the rare central area of the Death Valley, the sound of missiles exploding rang out one after another. Roger could no longer remember how many Reencarnacion he had smashed into the Hulk. The only thing he could be sure of now was that the chakra volume in his body was not even used by 1/10. Under the pressure of being hit by the Hulk at any time, he released even more potential as he wished. In just a few hours, he had completed all Big Ball Rasengan studies and completely mastered this strengthened version of Rasengan. Although Roger was only a few meters away from the Hulk had no intention of attacking him. To be precise, he did not have the strength remains to attack. At this time, the Hulk was powerlessly lying on the ground. His IQ was not high, and he was thinking about three non-philosophical questions. Who am I? Where am I? What am I doing? After being attacked by Roger's Big Ball Rasengan again and again, he wanted to resist but could not defend against it. He tried to run away, but could not get rid of Roger. For the Hulk, the past few hours were the most miserable time in his life. The Hulk's consciousness began to calm down gradually, and Banner's consciousness began to gain the upper hand. In the next minute or so, Roger witnessed the process of the Hulk turning from a green giant to an ordinary person. When the Hulk returned to Banner, he subconsciously glanced at Banner's pant. The quality of these pants was really extraordinary. Banner, who had just regained consciousness, had yet to figure out what had happened when Roger arrived behind him like a ghost. Then, he struck his neck with a knife. Banner lost consciousness once again and fell forward uncontrollably. After knocking Banner unconscious, Roger grabbed Banner's shoulder and used Flying Thunder God technique to leave the Death Valley. After they left, the Death Valley returned to peace. Roger did not bring Banner back to Culver University. Instead, he brought the unconscious Banner back to his office. After returning to the office, he first called Natasha and took off the 3 Magatama mask, Akatsuki's robe, Kuzunagi's sword, gun by Uchiwa, and other equipment. Not long after, Natasha brought a team of fully armed S.H.I.E.L.D. special forces to the office. Natasha was not surprised that Roger was still at Culver University a few hours ago, but now he had returned to New York. Although S.H.I.E.L.D. did not know how many extraordinary abilities Roger had grasped, they were still clear about the abilities that Roger often used. Teleportation, spitting fire, creating clones that were precisely the same as the main body and had offensive abilities, strangely restricting the movements of others. These were the 4 abilities that S.H.I.E.L.D. currently knew of Roger. According to the commission, you can take him away now. Natasha did not ask Roger how he did it. She directly arranged for the special forces to take away the unconscious Banner and put handcuffs and anklets on Banner. Roger wanted to remind them, but he finally gave up on this plan. H.I.E.L.D. was very clear about Banner's ability. Otherwise, he would not have entrusted him with the commission. When Natasha and the others left the office, Roger opened the attribute panel that only he could see. It was not much different from the last time he opened it, but with the addition of Summoning Technique, Chidori Katana, and Big Ball Rasengan, the number of available ninja coins also became 124. According to his previous plan, he planned to save 300 or 500 ninja coins and exchange them for Mangekyo Sharingan or would release ninjutsu from the system. But after this commission, he decided to adjust his exchange plan. Mangekyo Sharingan and would release in the column were indeed powerful, but these were not the most needed ninjutsu for the current him. Chapter 71, Sage Mode Transplantation. When he was fighting with the Hulk, Roger sighed over and over again at the Hulk's body, which was cheat level strong. At the same time, he also felt that his current body was too weak. He could be considered to have a strong physique that was not human compared to ordinary people. However, compared to monsters with a super physique, he was as weak as a baby. Without his extraordinary speed, he would not have been able to fight with a character like the Hulk, a tank, and a warrior. Even if there was no way to have a super physique like the Hulk or Thor, he still needed to improve his physique so that his body strength could keep up with his speed and chakra volume, which was improving day by day. On the system's exchange page, there were many ways to strengthen his physique. However, not many were suitable for his combat style, and even less could be afforded. Sage Mode. He really wants the vitality and physical ability of the 6-path Sage Mode of Hagoromo Otsutsuki. If he had enough ninja coins, Roger wouldn't mind exchanging for this Sage Mode. However, he only had 124 ninja coins now, so he could only exchange for the miniature version of the Sage Mode in the form of the Sage Mode of the Senju Clan. Sage Mode of the Senju Clan only costs 100 ninja coins. The upgrade version of the Sage Mode of the Senju Clan is called the Sage Mode of the Hashirama Senju. Sage Mode of Hashirama Senju required 500 ninja coins. However, this is not the peak of Sage Mode arts. On Sage Mode, there were two upgraded versions. One is Ashura Sage Mode, and the other is Six-Path Sage Mode. Sage Mode of the Senju Clan, Sage Mode of Hashirama Senju, Ashura Sage Mode, and Six-Path Sage Mode. This was the upgrade path for the Sage Mode of the Senju Clan. Besides the upgrade route of the Sage Mode of the Senju Clan, there was also the upgrade route of the Sage Mode of the Uzumaki Clan. The only difference was that the first two content of the Sage Mode of the Uzumaki Clan was changed to the Sage Mode of Uzumaki Clan and Sage Mode of Uzumaki Naruto, respectively. Just as Roger was about to exchange for the Sage Mode of the Senju Clan directly, he sent out the exchange icon that he had never seen before next to the Sage Mode of the Senju Clan. Sage Mode. Transplantation. Roger was very sure that whenever he browsed for the Sage Mode, this icon has never appeared before. After opening the icon and looking at the specific introduction, he could not help but frown. This hidden exchange item will not appear in the host's current state under normal conditions. Only when the host is interested in the corresponding exchange target and has enough ninja coins will these hidden exchange items appear. Sage Mode. Transplantation. Based on the principle of cell transplantation technology invented by Orochimaru, the new transplantation method has been upgraded and optimized. After a successful transplant, the target's complete physical and part of the transplanted jutsu will be obtained. If the transplant failed, the user chakra capacity would be dropped by half. And now, the transplantation that was offered to Roger is the transplantation for Sage Mode of Hashirama Senju. The exchange price of this transplantation was 100 ninja coins, the same price as the Sage Mode of Hashirama Senju. However, it differed from the regular exchange, which always had a 100% success rate. Sage Mode, transplant tactic, only had a 20% success rate. In other words, if the transplant were successful, it would be equivalent to using 100 ninja coins to exchange for the Sage Mode, which was worth 500 ninja coins. If the transplant failed, it would be a waste of 100 ninja coins. For this question, Roger decided without thinking. Without any hesitation, he said he directly consumed 100 ninja coins to exchange for the Sage Mode of Hashirama Senju. 100 ninja coins for the current him was a considerable sum of money. However, he still decisively made a choice and chose to bet on the 20% chance. If the transplant failed, he would treat it as the Hulk being beaten for nothing. As for chakra volume, this was a small matter. When his number of available ninja coins changed back to 24, a series of seals that he could not understand appeared on the back of his right hand. Before he could take a closer look, the seal written in black ink on the back of his right hand emitted a dark green light. Why was it green again? Just as Roger cursed in his heart, the seal on the back of his right hand began to grow crazily. These seals that emitted dark green light covered his entire body in the blink of an eye. At the same time, he found that the chakra in his body was circulating uncontrollably. Were all the transplantation as scary as this? Just as this thought appeared in his mind, he lost control of his body and came to the strange green planet, as if his soul had left his body. To be precise, he came to the outer space of the strange green planet. What appeared in front of him now was a green planet covered entirely in trees. He did not know how giant this green planet was, nor did he know what this green planet meant. The only thing he could be sure of now was that this green planet was like capturing a meteor that flew by chance, using an incomparably overbearing and irresistible method to attract him over forcefully. The scene changed, and he instantly arrived at a forest that was so lush that it didn't make sense. The trees in the forest suddenly came to life, and large and small branches stretched out towards him like tentacles of deep-sea octopuses. In the blink of an eye, he was firmly bound by these branches, and then he completely lost consciousness. Roger felt that he had a very, very long dream. When he opened his eyes again, he found that he was still sitting on the chair of the office. No seal on the back of his right hand emitted a dark green light, And there was nothing strange about the surroundings, as if everything just now was just a dream. He immediately opened the system's attribute page and was stunned. Host, Roger Job. Ninja, innate talent. Sealless Jutsu, 7 attribute chakra bloodline limit. Sharingan, would release physical body. Sage mode, Hashirama Senju, Ninjutsu, body substitution, body flickering technique, temporary paralysis technique, shadow clone, flying thunder god technique, sensing technique, summoning technique, Rasengan. Big ball Rasengan would release. Wood dragon art, wood man art, lightning release. Chidori, Chidori sharp spear, Chidori current, Chidori katana fire release. Great fire annihilation water release. Water gun technique, Jinjutsu. Bringer of darkness technique, physical arts. Chakra, enhanced strength. Chakra volume, 99. Spirit item. Frank the Punisher, Edo Earth reincarnation state. Number of available ninja coins, 24. Looking at the newly added Sage mode, would release, would dragon art, would man art, and strange force on his status panel, Roger began to think if the god of fortune stays on his side recently. Chapter 72. Sage mode. Roger was delighted with the result of Sage mode's transplantation. Even if the system had made some adjustments to bloodline limit, would release, and ninjutsu, it would not have impacted his good mood. As long as he got Sage mode, everything else is just a bonus. After calming down his excitement, he carefully browsed through the system's introduction of his new ninjutsu and would release. Bloodline limit. Would release, developed by the first Hokage, Senju Hashirama. It was born from the combination of water and earth attributes, topped with the chakra from the god tree. Would release could use chakra as the source of life, accelerate or control plants' growth, and then use them to attack, defend, and control the enemy. Would release's introduction was similar to what Roger remembered, and there was no particularly obvious change. As for wood human technique and wood dragon technique, they were similar to what he remembered. The only difference was that the ability of the wooden dragon to absorb the opponent's chakra became to absorb the opponent's physical strength and energy. Roger was already used to this minor adjustment, like the wood dragon technique. After all, before wood dragon technique, there were 2 examples of it, the sensing technique and Sharingan. After reading the introduction to wood human technique and wood dragon technique, he looked at the chakra, enhanced strength. Chakra, enhanced strength, through precise control of the chakra, concentrates the chakra in a specific part of the body or the whole body and then instantly bursts out, causing very powerful physical damage. Whether in terms of the introduction or the final result, the chakra, enhanced strength, was highly similar to the method he used to strengthen a specific part of his body. Roger even suspected that he might have mastered the chakra, enhanced strength long ago, but the system had never added this physical skill into the attribute panel. Of course, the greater possibility was that the method he used before was too rough, so rough that the system was unwilling to admit it. To confirm this, he compared his method with the method given by the system, and then concluded that it hurt his self-esteem. The system had always been unwilling to admit that he used to strengthen his chakra because his method of use was too crude. Compared to the method of use recognized by the system, his Pui's method of strengthening his chakra could only be considered to have just touched the tip of the iceberg. The reason why he could smoothly use this crude method to increase his strength temporarily was purely because his chakra volume was massive. For a simple example, if he used his method to strengthen, he would need to consume 1 volume of chakra. If he used the form recognized by the system, then he only needed to consume 0.1 volume of chakra to reach the same level of strengthening. Therefore, it was still very beneficial to have more chakra volume. If the technique were not good, then he would use quantity to gather it. Although it was shameful to waste so much chakra on the method, it was sometimes advantageous. After reading the introduction of the chakra enhanced strength, Roger opened Sage mode's intro. Sage mode. Hashirama Senju inheriting the special physique of the 6 paths Sage mode and the energy of Senju Hashirama. This is a technique that could be continuously strengthened through hard training. The system only had 1 sentence for Sage mode's explanation and did not contain much information. However, even if the system did not give any explanation, Roger would not be unfamiliar with Sage Mode. Unlike the Rinnegan, Sage Mode was not the kind of existence that could immediately grant powerful strength after possessing it. What Sage Mode bestowed upon the user, the thing that was given, is the potential to become stronger constantly, not the ability to become stronger instantly. Therefore, he was not surprised when he saw that chakra volume was still in level 99. Even the second generation of Sage, like Ashura, who was born with a Sage Mode body, he still required long hard work to obtain the same strength as his brother Indra. Sage Mode was far inferior to Rinnegan in the early stage. But in the later stage, not only could Sage Mode unleash the power that was not inferior to the Rinnegan, he could even surpass the Rinnegan. Although Sage Mode, who had been transplanted from Hashirama, did not immediately upgrade Roger, nor did his body fill with power like Hashirama, he was still confident in the Sage Mode. It just needs hard work. He was not afraid that he needed to cultivate hard to obtain strength, but his limited talent restricted him. The feeling of being trapped by talent, no matter how much effort he put in, still unable to obtain any improvement, was the most despairing. And Sage Mode's existence could help him break through the limitations of his talent, allowing him to smoothly break through to a level that initially did not belong to him. He wanted a future with greater possibilities, not just a few ninjutsu and chakras in front of him. After turning off his status panel, he used Flying Thunder God technique to leave the office, preparing to experience would release and his physical skills personally. In the next week, other than going back and forth from home to the office every day, Roger spent most of his time in the forest outside the outskirts of New York. He went to the office to see if there were any suitable commissions to accept. He went to the forest outside the outskirts of New York to familiarize himself with Wood Dragon technique and Wood Human technique, which he had just obtained. Although the Wood Dragon and the Woodman, the two would release ninjutsu, had obtained because of the bonus from transplanting for Hashirama, the effect he displayed was completely different from what Hashirama himself had displayed. The appearance of the wooden dragon and the wooden man is not different. The size is much smaller, and the power has a fundamental difference. Both of these jutsu also have the color green. Roger felt that his wood release and ninjutsu also indicated turning green. Wood release and ninjutsu's progress was not very optimistic, but after a continuous week of hard work, his chakra volume finally improved again. Chakra volume, level 102. With hard practice every day, his chakra volume increased by 3 levels in a week. 3 levels a week, 12 levels a month, and 156 levels a year. This kind of improvement could make people excited just by thinking about it. Just as he was fantasizing about the beautiful scenery in the future, Dr. Ross, who he had met before, suddenly came into the office. "I want to request a commission." This is the reward for the commission. After entering Roger's office, Dr. Ross directly put a suitcase on the desk and said with a serious face, "Let's talk about the contents of the commission first." Roger replied casually as he glanced at Dr. Ross. He was not surprised that Dr. Ross could find this place. The last time they met, although he did not reveal his identity, he did not disguise himself. Therefore, it was very normal for Dr. Ross to find this place. Chapter 73, Dr. Ross Commission. I know Banner is now locked up in S.H.I.L.D. bases. I also know that you are the one who gave Banner to S.H.A.L.D., but I still hope that you can save Banner. He's a good person. He just suffered an experiment accident. He should not be an experiment subject any longer. Dr. Ross obviously came here after a detailed investigation. As for who her source of information was, Roger did not need to guess to know. Apart from General Ross, who was always in charge of capturing Banner, no one else would tell this news to Dr. Ross. Although the relationship between Dr. Ross and General Ross was not very good, they were still father and daughter. Since you know that I gave Banner to S.H.I.L., you should understand that dealing with a previous employer is a horrible thing to do for people in my line of work. Although it was not the first time he had to deal with his previous employer, he still had to show the attitude he should have. Moreover, I don't think your reward can push me. The suitcase brought by Dr. Ross could only hold more than $1 million if it were stuffed to the maximum. For other private detectives, this reward would be abundant. But for Roger, this amount of reward was not only not pleasing, but it also seriously damaged his current market price. His previous employer, SHIELD, had directly taken out $100 million in compensation, and it was the kind that had been paid in advance. I can only take out that much now. If you need more than this, I can only pay you in the future. Although Dr. Ross' income was not bad, it did not mean she could take out a massive sum of millions at any time. No, you misunderstood me. I'm not sure of money now. What I want is before Roger could finish speaking, Dr. Ross suddenly hugged herself with both of her hands and shook her head frantically. No, I can't do this. How dare you make such conditions? What conditions have I made? I haven't even finished speaking. Seeing Dr. Ross' intense rejection at this time, Roger suddenly thought of something. Could it be that she thought his expression instantly became incomparably ugly? I'm a young man from a new era who doesn't even have a girlfriend. How could I cause such a misunderstanding? What exactly is the problem? After silently recalling it, he remembered a commission that was considered generous, but he had never accepted it. The female tycoon who became famous because of the deaths of multiple husbands of her. When he thought of this, his face turned even uglier. After realizing that his reputation was starting to develop in some wrong places, he decided to strictly limit the types of commissions in the future. He would put an end to the inexplicable commissions appearing again. Write the contents of the commission on it. Just write down what you can pay. After saying that, Roger took out the last scroll that had not been used and solemnly placed it in front of Dr. Ross. Looking at the serious face of Roger, Dr. Ross also realized that her actions just now were somewhat inappropriate. Dr. Ross did not speak. She directly picked up a pen and wrote on the scroll. Commission reward, $5 million. Roger pointed to the suitcase and asked in confusion, "Didn't you say that you can only take out that much money? The words written on the scroll are different from what you said. I can only take out this much now, but as long as you can save Banner, I will give you $5 million. Dr. Ross said firmly and then added silently, "Banner has enough money to pay." It was reasonable to use Banner's money to save Banner. It was also reasonable for Roger, who sent Banner to SHIELD, to take a commission to rescue Banner from SHIELD. Reasonable, my ass. This is not something a normal person would do. Fortunately, Roger was not a normal person, and Banner was not a normal person, so it was normal for them to do something abnormal. After putting away the commission scroll, Roger glanced at the system's commission page. The commission page was blank, and there was no new commission. Sigh, another waste of ninja coins. Just as Roger was about to reject Dr. Ross, a commission that was different from the client's request appeared on the commission page. Dr. Ross' commission was to rescue Banner from SHIELD. However, the contents of the commission given by the system were to prevent the Hulk from destroying New York and sending the Hulk to Canada. This was Roger's first encounter with a different commission from the system. Moreover, since the system called him the Hulk, per his understanding of the system, this meant that the commission would only be completed if he sent the Hulk to Canada. Stopping the Hulk from destroying New York was not difficult to understand. After all, the Hulk had this kind of strength. However, the request to send the Hulk to Canada was not very normal. It was Hulk, not Banner, who needed to be sent to Canada, which meant he couldn't wait for Hulk to turn back into Banner, as he did before sending him there. On top of that, he was curious about what Canada had done wrong that the system would ask him to send the Hulk there. To a certain extent, the Hulk was equivalent to a human-shaped self-propelled nuclear bomb that could constantly explode. Sending such a guy to Canada, he could imagine what would happen in Canada just thinking about it. Moreover, this kind of commission was not quite the same as the client's request. In the end, how to judge the remuneration side was also a new problem. Although Roger's mind was full of doubts, it was clear that the system had no intention of explaining. I accept your mission, but there's a small problem. You may need to meet Banner in Canada. Since the system had given him a mission, and the commission reward was not low, Roger naturally would not make things difficult for the task. Not just sending the Hulk to Canada. Even if it requires sending Over Abomination to Canada, 2. As long as the system could provide the corresponding commissions and rewards, he would still do it. Okay. Although this result was different from what she had imagined, no matter what, she had saved Banner from S.H.L.D. So Dr. Ross finally agreed. However, she did not expect that although S.H.I.L.D. looked like a United States organization, in reality, S.H.I.L.D. had many bases in most parts of the world. It should also have one in Canada. You can now tell me the location of the Who where Banner is imprisoned. Dr. Ross might not know where S.H.I.L.D. imprisoned Hulk, but his father, General Ross, would definitely know. He is in New York right now, in the base of S.H.I.L.D. in Queens. Chapter 74, Nick Fury Motherfucker, that's all I know. As for where S.H.I.L.D.'s base is in Queens, I don't know. At this point, Dr. Ross' tone became a little depressed. It wasn't that General Ross was unwilling to tell Dr. Ross the specific address, but it was because he didn't know where S.H.L.D.'s base was. H.I.L.D. willingness to tell General Ross that Banner was in Queens was already giving this Air Force Lieutenant General a great favor. It doesn't matter. It's enough to know that Banner is still in New York. Roger had already left Flying Thunder God's formula during the previous battle on the Hulk. Therefore, as long as he had a general location of Banner, he could directly sense Flying Thunder God's formula in the area and then instantly teleport through Flying Thunder God technique. After you arrive in Canada, call this number, and I will take Banner there. After saying that, Roger gave Dr. Ross the vibranium of Flying Thunder God technique Kanai, and at the same time, gave her a business card with his phone number. Although there was no request for Banner to meet Dr. Ross in the system's entrustment, Roger still intended to satisfy Dr. Ross's wish and let her meet with Banner. When Dr. Ross left the office with Flying Thunder God Kanai and the business card, he began to sense the Flying Thunder God's formula in Queens. After identifying the one that belonged to Banner from dozens of Flying Thunder God's formula, Roger used summoning technique to summon the Sword of Kusanagi, gunned by Uchiwa, the Mask, and Akatsuka robe. Although he could not hide his true identity, he still devoutly put on his battle attire regardless of whether he changed his clothes. It was not important whether he could hide his identity or not. What was important was that it looked cool. After doing all this, his figure disappeared from the affairs office. When he reappeared, he was already next to Banner. To be precise, he was next to Banner, who was lying on the operating table. This was a room that looked similar to an operating room. Other than the patient lying on the operating table and the 4 fully armed agents standing at the room's door, there was not much difference from the actual operating room. The sudden appearance of Roger immediately attracted everyone's attention. The 4 fully armed agents immediately raised their weapons and aimed at him. However, before the 4 agents could shoot, they saw a pair of blood-red eyes. Then, they stood on the spot as if they had lost their souls. Jinjutsu, Sharingan. After the battle with the Hulk, Roger began to slowly like the feeling of using Jinjutsu, Sharingan. It could be activated just by looking at the target, and it also has many uses. More importantly, the bystanders had no idea what had happened. In the eyes of the bystanders, Roger only turned to look at the 4 agents. Then, these agents stood there dumbly, not moving at all. After dealing with the 4 S.H.I.E.L.D. agents, Roger came to Banner's side and used the kunai to cut off the binding belt that bound Banner. At the same time, he pulled out the needle on Banner's right arm. Although S.H.I.E.L.D. could not subdue the Raging Hulk, they used a very tricky method to make the Hulk unable to transform. As long as Banner kept his heartbeat at a low frequency, they could effectively prevent the Hulk from appearing. Although the Hulk was terrifying, Banner was easy to deal with. However, S.H.I.E.L.D. still had little conscience. He did not dissect Banner directly. Instead, he kept collecting and analyzing the composition of his blood and collecting detailed body data that made people speechless. Just as Roger was about to leave with Banner, who had not completely woken up, a black man wearing a black windbreaker and a blindfold on his left I rushed over. Beside the black man was Natasha, who has a wine-red hair. This black man was none other than the director of S.H.I.E.L.D., Nick Fury. Motherfucker. Wait. Don't go yet. We can discuss this. After receiving the report from his agent, Nick Fury rushed over with Natasha in an attempt to communicate with Roger. However, Roger ignored Nick Fury. He grabbed Banner's shoulder and disappeared from their sight. It seems that I said it too slowly. He didn't hear it clearly. Nick Fury said calmly and silently, giving up. No, he heard it clearly. Natasha added silently. Roger did not bring Banner back to his office, but brought him to the forest where he had practiced would release before. At this time, because of the influence of medicine, Banner was still in a weak state, and he could not even stand up by himself. After using sensing technique to sense Banner's current physical condition, Roger ignored Banner and left him alone in this rare forest, while he used Flying Thunder God technique to leave. A few minutes later, he returned with a new black Chevrolet pickup, a pile of food, and clothes. After dozens of minutes of rest, the effects of the medicine in Banner's body gradually disappeared, and his physical strength began to recover bit by bit. Don't be in a hurry to transform first. Your girlfriend, Dr. Ross, entrusted me to save you. If you still want to see him, get in the car obediently. When Roger appeared again, Banner's first reaction was to transform into the Hulk. He did not forget that the person in front of him had given him to S.H.I.E.L.D. After hearing Roger's words, Banner thought for a few seconds and then went straight to the side of the car, ready to open the door and get in the car. The passenger seat is mine, and your seat is next to it. After that, Roger opened the door and sat in the passenger seat. Although he didn't know what Roger would do, Banner went to the driver's seat and drove away from the forest. Where are we going? Banner, who was holding the steering wheel, asked. Drive in the direction of Canada. You can use whatever road you want. Roger answered casually. Roger did not actually need to prepare a car for this. He could bring Banner to Canada. When Dr. Ross arrived in Canada, he could directly use Flying Thunder God technique to teleport there. Although this was the most efficient way, he did not intend to do so. It was a bit too wasteful to bring Banner directly to Canada, or rather, it was too much of a waste of the Hulk in his body. Before bringing Banner out of the operation room, he had already thought of how to use the Hulk in Banner's body. Chapter 75, Wood Dragon Technique. What reward did Betty give you to save me from S.H.I.E.L.D.? After a few minutes of silence, Dr. Banner, who was driving, finally spoke. $5 million, but she only paid $1 million down payment. She said that you would pay the remaining $4 million. Just as Roger finished speaking, Dr. Banner suddenly braked and looked at Roger in disbelief. Just because of $5 million, you saved me from S.H.I.E.L.D.? Although Dr. Banner was not a rich man with a net worth of over $100 million, he knew very well that $5 million for this kind of commission was not a very generous reward. Not to mention the process of saving people. The problem was that this act of saving people was undoubtedly slapping S.H.I.E.L.D.'s face. Banner did not think Roger would offend S.H.I.E.L.D. for a mere $5 million. $5 million is already a lot. Many people might not be able to earn this amount even if they work hard for their entire lives. Roger casually replied to Banner. Just as Banner had guessed, if the reward was only $5 million, he did not have much interest in accepting this mission. The reason why he accepted this mission was that the system had given him a pretty good reward. Mission content: prevent the Hulk from destroying New York and sending him to Canada. Mission status: incomplete. Mission reward: 50 ninja coins. Although the reward for ninja coins was only half the reward from the last commission, considering the difficulty of the commission this time, Roger felt that this price was quite good. It was not particularly difficult to stop the Hulk from destroying New York. If Banner transformed into the Hulk in New York, teleport him away from New York with the Flying Thunder God technique, and the first half of the commission would be completed. As for the latter half, it was still relatively easy. The system did not set a time to send the Hulk over or select a specific location. So as long as he let the Hulk come out before crossing Canada's national border and threw him over, the latter part would be completed. Since you mentioned this question, I want to ask, how do you plan to pay the remaining $4 million? After hearing Roger's question, Banner did not even turn his head and directly said, I have a spare bank account. You can withdraw with the account and password if you have it. After saying that, Banner directly told Roger the account and password and added, let me remind you, if you take this money, Ross and SHLD will keep an eye on you. You have to solve this problem by yourself. It's okay, as long as $4 million are in the account. Whether it was General Ross or SHLD, it was not a serious matter to offend them. After driving for a few hours, Roger suddenly said, stop here. There is food in the container. After eating, let's go to the forest next to it. Banner did not know what Roger wanted to do, but he still stopped at the side according to Roger's instructions and opened the container at the back. After opening the container at the back, Banner was a little stunned. The container was filled with all kinds of high-calorie food, and next to the food were several sets of loose sportswear. Remember to eat until you're full. Roger's voice came out of the car. Half an hour later, Roger and Banner parked the car outside the forest. The two of them walked deeper into the woods. Until now, Banner still did not know what Roger wanted to do. He just silently followed behind Roger. After arriving at the depths of the forest, Roger finally spoke. Let the Hulk come out. Banner suspected that he had heard wrong. He asked puzzledly, you just said to let the Hulk come out? Yes, let the Hulk come out. What was this guy trying to do? Although Banner didn't know what Roger wanted to do, but he felt that this was an opportunity for him. Turning into the Hulk, hitting Roger, and then regaining freedom. One plan after another flashed through Banner's mind. Since this is your request, please don't blame me for the consequences later. Not long after, under Banner's deliberate indulgence, a hint of green emerged on his skin, and his entire body grew larger and stronger at a rate visible to the naked eye. When the Hulk, who was 4 meters tall, appeared again, the Hulk first let out an angry roar like a wild beast, and then his eyes stared fixedly at Roger as if he wanted to swallow him whole. However, before the Hulk could launch an attack, he saw Roger, who was not far away, suddenly clasp his fingers together, forming a hand seal for which he did not know the reason. With sealing techniques talent, Roger did not need to make any hand seals when using ninjutsu. However, to look more fabulous, he still does the hand seal. Would release, wood dragon technique. When Roger finished forming the hand seal, a wooden dragon more than 10 meters long, with a long hooked nose and an entire body of thorns, instantly sprang out from the ground and attacked the Hulk directly. Facing the incoming wooden dragon, the Hulk had no intention of retreating. Instead, he took the initiative to run towards the wooden dragon. It was just a piece of wood. It could be easily broken. The Hulk and the wooden dragon collided in the blink of an eye. Just as the Hulk was about to tear apart the somewhat unsightly wooden dragon, the wooden dragon suddenly wrapped around him tightly. A dragon made of wood can't stop me. The Hulk began to exert strength, trying to break free from the binding of the wooden dragon. But he soon noticed that something was wrong. This is no ordinary wood. With the Hulk's strength, let alone wood, even if iron chains bound him, he could still break free easily. But at this time, not only did he not break free from the wooden dragon that was wrapped around him, but he also found that his physical strength was rapidly decreasing at a terrifying speed. Although the Hulk's wisdom was not comparable to Banner's, he was not stupid. The toughness of the wooden dragon was far beyond the Hulk's expectations. Even more troublesome was that the longer it wrapped around him, the more it drained his physical strength and the less likely he could break free. Several minutes later, under extreme pressure, the Hulk transformed back into Banner. After the Hulk disappeared, Roger freed himself from his control over wood dragon technique. Without continuous input of chakra, this wooden dragon with a long hooked nose and an entire body of thorns also turned back into ordinary wood, losing all its ability. Banner crawled from under the wooden dragon, which had already turned into a wooden sculpture. He lay on the ground powerlessly, as if he had just finished running a marathon. After eating, change into new clothes, and we will leave for Canada. Only now did Banner know why Roger had specially brought a set of clothes and a pile of food there. Several minutes later, Banner, who had returned to the car, did not say a word. He directly started the car and drove towards Canada. Chapter 76, Wood Human Technique. When Roger and Banner drove to Canada on the Chevrolet, General Ross also received a piece of information about his daughter. After leaving Roger, Dr. Ross went directly to the airport and bought a ticket to Canada. Shortly after Dr. Ross bought the ticket, General Ross received a report. General Ross told Dr. Ross the information that Banner was locked up in SHILD. In addition to Dr. Ross being his daughter, there was another reason. He also hoped Roger would get Banner out of SHILD's base. General Ross couldn't go to SHILD, decided to take him out, but he would not give up on Banner just like that. Banner was the only successful experimental subject at the moment, so no matter what, he would not hand Banner over to SHILD. Although General Ross did not know what Roger would do, he was sure that this fellow, known as a private detective, definitely had a way to bring Banner out of SHILD's base. The scene at Culver University left a deep impression on him and strengthened his determination to capture Banner. Only with a human-shaped weapon like the Hulk could he fight against those mutants who had extraordinary abilities. General, Bruce is here, just as General Ross instructed the intelligence personnel to continue monitoring Ross. Blonsky was led by his assistant to his office. After bringing Blonsky to the office, the assistant left and closed the door. You saw the scene at Culver University, right? What do you think about it? General Ross asked directly. I saw two uncontrollable and powerful, dangerous entities. At the same time, I was worried about whether the Army could eliminate these two dangerous entities. As the witness at that time, Blonsky gave a very official answer. How old are you this year? 45 years old. General Ross suddenly changed the topic and asked. 39 years old. Blonsky told his actual age. You get old quickly, right? That's right. Then don't do any more missions. With your record, you could be a colonel. General Ross suggested. No, I'm a warrior. I will always be. Regarding General Ross' suggestion, Blonsky did not even think before directly rejecting it. Then he continued. If I had my current experience 10 years ago, I would definitely not fight myself. Seeing the determination in Blonsky's eyes, General Ross hesitated for a few seconds before saying, I can make you stronger. After hearing General Ross' answer, there was a look of excitement in Blonsky's eyes. During the Second World War, the Weapon Research Department conducted a new experiment. The Biological Power Enhancement Experiment hopes to create a super soldier. Based on the previous experiment, I restarted the relevant experiment. Banner participated in the early stages of this work, but he did not know we were weaponizing this research. He thought he was studying the method of resisting radiation. I never told him the truth of the experiment, but he was too confident. He conducted a human experiment on himself. There was a small accident, or rather, a wonderful accident. We discovered a type of serum with great potential. After the injection is complete, you will lead a team to capture a person called Mr. Blue. We suspect that he is the one who helped Banner escape. Since Banner returned to the car, he did not say a word to Roger. He just silently drove to Canada. Regarding Banner's silence, Roger did not care about it. He was now thinking about how to maximize the effect of the wood dragon technique. When he was fighting against the Hulk just now, he did not use wood dragon technique to the maximum power. The wooden dragon that he could currently create could reach a length of more than 30 meters. The reason why shorten the length of the wooden dragon to just 10 meters was simply that the Hulk was too small. The Hulk was only 3 meters tall, and there was no need to waste chakra to create a larger wooden dragon. A length of 10 meters was already enough. When dealing with an enemy like the Hulk, wood dragon technique could unleash a good effect, but this was only limited to the first time. After all, as long as he had experienced it once, the Hulk would not be able to take the initiative to run towards the wooden dragon foolishly. The wooden dragon could absorb the strength and energy of the target, but the strength and energy absorbed by the wooden dragon would not be redirected to the caster. Therefore, Roger initially planned to use the Hulk as a portable charger, but it had already failed before it even began. In addition, the wooden dragon's movement speed was not that fast. If the target was fast enough, they could still avoid it. Wood Dragon technique was more suited to be a control skill, not an attack skill. After casually eating something in the car for dinner, Roger brought the Hulk to a grass field that did not have many people. Exercise after dinner. Let the Hulk come out. Although Banner was very reluctant, the situation was better than other people's. He still transformed into the Hulk. After coming out again, the Hulk did not rush toward Roger as rashly as he did last time. Instead, he looked at Roger with vigilance. After confirming that there was no strange wooden dragon around him, he ran towards Roger. Roger made another hand seal, but this time, he did not make the same hand seal as before. No matter what seal he made, it would not affect the ninjutsu he wanted to use. Would release Wood Dragon technique. A 10-meter-long wooden dragon with a hooked nose gushed out from the ground and pounced directly at the Hulk, who was rushing over. With the experience from the last time, the Hulk no longer had any intention of fighting with the wooden dragon. He suddenly exerted strength in his legs and jumped high. Then, under the influence of gravity, he smashed toward Roger like a green meteorite. Seeing that the Hulk had changed his tactics, Roger stopped with dragon technique and formed another seal with his hands. When the Hulk, like a green meteorite, was about to hit Roger, a wooden man about the same size as him appeared on the ground again. The wooden man coiled around his arm. After rushing out from the ground, this wooden man did not hesitate and directly pounced on the descending Hulk. Boom! The Hulk and the wooden man fiercely collided together, and both sides bounced off and fell on both sides of Roger. After landing on the ground, the Hulk and the wooden man ran wildly again. However, the Hulk's target was Roger, and the wooden man's target was the Hulk. Just as the Hulk was about to arrive in front of Roger, the wooden man took the lead to come in front of him and sent him flying. Then, there was a fierce battle full of momentum. What a fierce fighting style. It's like a beast. Chapter 77. Dr. Stern Hulk is a typical high attack, high defense, and high vitality opponent, combining the characteristics of warriors and tanks. Facing such an enemy head-on was not a wise choice. However, Roger did not care about this. He just wanted to test what human technique's power. For this reason, he deliberately controlled the body of the wooden man to avoid the situation of bullying the weak. The current wooden man was only 3 meters tall and the same height as the Hulk. If he used his full strength, the wooden man's body size could reach about 10 meters. Although the Hulk's physical attack power was very strong, the wooden man in front of him was also not weak. The peak state of the wooden man was an existence that could catch the nine-tailed beast with one hand. Even if it faced a complete body Susanoo, it would still not be at a disadvantage. However, Roger could temporarily not display this peak state wooden man. Increasing the size of the wooden man to around 10 meters was already the limit he could reach right now. After controlling the wooden man, the Hulk exchanged blows with it for more than 10 minutes until Roger finally intended to end the battle. Under his control, the wooden man that was initially randomly throwing punch suddenly took a step back and avoided the fist the Hulk was throwing. Then, before the Hulk realized what had happened, the wooden man displayed his exquisite combat skills. The wooden man leaned forward and directly arrived in front of the Hulk. He launched a seemingly simple but powerful attack. Chest, left shoulder, lower abdomen, right shoulder, head straight punch, uppercut, left hook, elbow strike, punching knee, left shifting step, jab, holding head, and top knee in the face of the wooden man that suddenly changed the attacking style and rhythm. The Hulk was like a humanoid sandbag, constantly being repelled by the wooden man. Boom! The Hulk, whose body was unstable, did not have time to make any defense, and he was sent flying by the wooden man. After rolling a few times on the ground, the Hulk stood up again. Then, he saw the wooden man who had cupped his fists and descended from the sky. The wooden man was not a real creature and couldn't make 2 nimble movements. But even so, its skillful combat skills still let the Hulk experience the difference between pros and amateurs. A few minutes later, the angry Hulk once again turned back to Banner. When the Hulk disappeared and Banner returned, Roger also stopped controlling the wooden Arhut, turning the previously mighty wooden man into a lifelike wooden sculpture. The style of fighting just now was not Roger's original creation, but he had learned it from Thanos. However, it differed from Thanos, who easily knocked out the Hulk. he was still a bit lacking in this aspect. After ending with human technique, he checked the remaining chakra volume. One with dragon technique and one with human technique consumed almost 20 levels of his chakra. With dragon technique had consumed a little less. After all, it only lasted for a short period, so he only used 2 or 3 chakra levels. The primary consumption was from wood human technique. He had just created the wooden man, and he had already used up 2 or 3 levels of chakra. While maintaining the attack of the wooden man, he had used up more than 10 levels of chakra. This was only a 3-meter-tall wooden man. If it was a 100-meter-tall wooden man, then the amount of chakra required would be an extremely terrifying number. Roger now truly understood why this ninjutsu requires a high amount of chakra would release couldn't display such an astonishing effect without a massive amount of chakra. Would release was a bloodline limit with a massive difference in upper and lower limits. For people who used it well, tail beasts could be comparable to pets. Those who could not use it well could only play and study it in agricultural class. Change your clothes and go back to the car to sleep. We will set off tomorrow. Although Banner could not completely remember the Hulk's memories, he already knew what kind of person Roger was from those scattered memories. This man usually looked amiable, but when he moved his hands, he was crazier than anyone else. Banner did not know if it was his illusion, but he felt that the Hulk in his body seemed to be complaining about something in a grievance, whining like a giant green baby. When Banner changed into new clothes and returned to the car, Roger called out a Shadow Clone and asked Shadow Clone to look at Banner, lest he made a wrong decision in a moment of impulse. Then he used Flying Thunder God technique and returned home. The difficult task was left to Shadow Clone and the comfortable life enjoyed by the original body. This was the right way to use Shadow Clone. Bath, eat, play the Berserker's Creed, and then sleep. Blonsky, who had received the serum injection under the account of General Ross, took a team of fully armed Special Forces soldiers to raid New York's Grayburn College, took away Professor Samuel Stern, who was called Mr. Blue, and the blood sample of Banner in his laboratory. Looking at this cabinet after cabinet for Banner's blood samples, Bronsky's face emerged with a complex look. New York, in a military base. You can't treat me like this. I'm a cellular biologist. I want to contact my lawyer. After being brought to the interrogation room, Dr. Stern repeated his rights. He doesn't look like the person who helped Banner escape. Blow was outside the interrogation room, peered through the one-sided glass at the impatient Dr. Stern inside, and voiced his opinion. His laboratory has a large number of Banner blood samples. Whether he helped Banner escape or not, he is someone who needs to be locked up, and I have a hunch that he can help us. General Ross said lightly, quickly deciding the fate of Dr. Stern. As for the identity of Dr. Stern as cellular biologist, he did not care about it. After General Ross left, Blonsky stood alone in front of the one-sided glass and looked at the increasingly uneasy Dr. Stern. After standing still like a puppet for more than 10 minutes, Blonsky took a deep breath and went directly to the interrogation room. Sir, the general has ordered that no one can enter without his permission. The soldier guarding the door said seriously. Then, the soldier felt a sharp pain in his heart. Before he could scream, Blonsky covered his mouth in advance and watched as the soldier's pupils began to enlarge. After doing all this, Bruce opened the door and threw the soldier's body in. He went straight to Dr. Stern. How can you kill your own man? Dr. Stern said with a trembling voice. Chapter 78. Heart-to-heart talk with the Hulk looking at the soldier's body still bleeding on the ground. Dr. Stern shouted to Blonsky. Then he saw Blonsky pull out his gun and point it at his head. What did I do to be treated so rudely by you? Under the threat of the gun, Dr. Stern's tone changed and became extremely gentle. It's not what you have done, but what you must do. I want to become as strong as Banner. Hearing this, Dr. Stern stood up from his chair and slowly said, It seems that you have been injected with something. I want to become stronger than Banner. You should know how strong he is. That's right. He is powerful. He is like a god. I want to become like that too. You want to make me as strong as him. Blonsky's breathing began to become heavy, and beads of sweat appeared on his forehead. I don't know what's inside of you. If what is given to Bruce is mixed with it, you could become a monster. As soon as Dr. Stern finished speaking, Blonsky arrived in front of him, grabbed him, and lifted him up with one hand. "I didn't say I was unwilling. I just need your consent." Without any hesitation, Dr. Stern instantly admitted defeat. Then, under the command of Blonsky, the two of them arrived at the research room in the base. This place contained Banner's blood sample that was transported to Dr. Stern. Dr. Stern's computer and various instruments were packed together and transported over. "Let's begin." After lying on the operating bed, Blonsky said excitedly. A few minutes later, an experimental accident occurred in the laboratory. Banner's blood sample stored in it was destroyed. Dr. Stern was also hit by the explosion and died on the spot. Blonsky is nowhere to be seen. When General Ross led the soldiers to the laboratory, they saw only the ruins of a burning laboratory. At this time, a soldier hurried to General Ross' side and reported a message in a low voice. Blonsky, early the following day, after washing up and enjoying a sumptuous breakfast, Roger used Flying Thunder God technique to return to the car. Bang! The moment he returned, Shadow Clone turned into a cloud of smoke and disappeared. The sleeping Banner woke up in a daze and then saw Roger, who was full of energy and had changed clothes. You have 10 minutes to eat breakfast." Banner sighed silently, then got out of the car and went straight to the back of the vehicle. He opened the container and randomly picked a few foods. At this time, he could no longer care about personal hygiene. After quickly eating the food in his hands, Banner started the car again and drove toward Canada. At noon, Roger used Flying Thunder God technique to return to office, arranged for Erica to go to the bank to take out Dr. Banner's money, and then took out the phone from the drawer that was answered purely by fate. There were several missed calls on the mobile phone, all of which were numbers he had never seen before, and there was also a text message. Dr. Ross called and texted to the phone. The content of the short letter was also straightforward. It was the address of a hotel in Vancouver, the capital of Canada. After reading the message, Roger called Dr. Ross and asked her to take Flying Thunder God Kenai to the forest or park on the outskirts of Vancouver. After doing all this, he used Flying Thunder God technique to return to the car. Banner was already used to Roger's ability to disappear and reappear instantly. He did not even turn to look at Roger. "Stop the car here, then let the Hulk come out." After 2 experiences, Banner was already very clear about what Roger wanted to do, so he got out of the car without saying a word and took off his coat. Under the guidance of Banner, the Hulk appeared again. Seeing Roger again, the Hulk did not attack like before. Instead, he silently took a few steps back and looked at Roger with great vigilance. "Don't worry, I won't hit you today." After saying that, Roger went to the cargo box behind the car and filled a big travel bag with the fruits and meat wrapped in a vacuum seal. Then he took Kusanagi, soared to a grassland not far away from the road, and sat down. After casting a super small wood dragon technique and a super small great fire annihilation, he had a bonfire. Then, under the Hulk's gaze, he inserted the meat into Kusanagi's sword and began to barbecue. We still need to wait for the meat to be cooked. If you're hungry, you can eat some fruit first. If you don't like fruit, you can also go to the cargo box to get something else. After saying that, Roger did not care about the Hulk anymore, as if he had put all his heart into the barbecue in front of him. The Hulk completely could not understand what Roger was going to do, but he did not feel any malice from Roger, so he came in front of Roger and sat down with a plop. After roasting for a few minutes, Roger handed the sword of Kusanagi to the Hulk and said calmly, "Take it, I'll go back and get something." Barbecue without seasoning was a soulless barbecue. For this reason, he used Flying Thunder God technique to return to New York and bought a set of family barbecue tools, spices, and a large box of cold beer. When he came back here, the Hulk was still holding Kusanagi's sword, and the barbecue on the upper side had noticeable scorch marks. "Give it to me." After taking back Kusanagi's sword, Roger removed the burnt meat and put it into a special barbecue tool. He began his barbecue journey again. More than 10 minutes later, he handed a piece of beef that had been roasted and opened a few bottles of frozen beer. "Do you want a bottle?" After hesitating for a few seconds, the Hulk took Roger's beer bottle. Compared to the Hulk's colossal palm, the beer bottle was as small as a toy. "Compared to Banner, I prefer to deal with you." After saying that, Roger took a bite of the roasted meat in his hand. The taste was quite good. Banner is too sharp and clear, and he is more like a scholar than a warrior. Of course, you're not a warrior, but at least you are better than Banner. You know how to fight. Although the Hulk was not as bright as Banner, he also had his wisdom, so he completely understood what Roger was talking about. Hulk doesn't like fight. Hulk just doesn't want to get hurt. Hulk to protect himself. Looking at the harmless Roger in front of him, the Hulk spoke out his thoughts. At the same time, he copied Roger's actions, eating the roasted meat in his hand and drinking beer. If you want to protect yourself, you must be strong enough. Your body contains a powerful force, but you don't know how to use it. If you want to become stronger, I can teach you. Chapter 79. False Memory. Moving wood? Blue ball. The Hulk put down the barbecue in his hand and used his hand to compare the appearance of Roger when he displayed big ball Reencarnacion. It's not those. It's more suitable for you to practice physical skills, or in other words, combat skills. Even if Roger was willing to teach would release and Reencarnacion, the Hulk could not learn it because the Hulk did not have chakra. However, even if the Hulk had chakra, Roger could not teach him would release and Reencarnacion. Would release was bloodline limit, not someone he could teach just because he wanted to. On the other hand, Reencarnacion needed excellent chakra control, which was also unsuitable for the Hulk. If the Hulk really had chakra, then the most suitable thing for him was the peak of body technique, taijutsu, 8 inner gates formation, the Hulk, who had opened the 8 gates. Roger was excited just by thinking about it. Body technique? The Hulk was not very clear about what body technique was. Body technique relies on the body to directly attack. The type of attack you usually use belongs to body techniques. Body technique is just a name. If you like, you can also call it close quarter combat. After eating the last piece of barbecue on the barbecue fork, Roger stood up and came to Hulk. Although the Hulk was sitting on the ground at this time, he was still taller than Roger. Just as he was about to stand up, Roger stopped him. You can sit. Because of the time, I can't personally demonstrate it to you, but I can teach you another way. Relax, don't try to resist it. As soon as his voice fell, Roger's eyes turned into Sharingan. After seeing Roger's Sharingan, the Hulk recalled some bad memories. I will leave you an illusion teaching scene. This illusion will not harm you. When you have time or Banner controls the body, you can use the time to learn. Although the Hulk did not understand what an illusion teaching scene was, he believed in his intuition at this time. He believed that Roger would not hurt him. When the Hulk took the initiative to cooperate, Roger smoothly left an illusion teaching scene in his mind. To engrave this illusion teaching scene into the memory of the Hulk permanently, for the first time, Roger used the power of the Sharingan to the limit. The scene created by Genjutsu was forever engraved in the target's memory. He had learned this small skill by chance when he was recently studying Genjutsu, Sharingan. He originally planned to develop a Genjutsu which could make the target fall into an illusion forever, but the result was that he massively failed. When the power of the Sharingan he left in the target was exhausted, the target would get rid of the illusion, and their consciousness would return to the real world. Although the research and development failed, it also taught him many things. This technique that permanently engraved the illusion into the target's memory was one of the small products. For this reason, he also gave this small technique that could not be directly used in battle a very easy-to-understand name. Genjutsu, false memory, because there was no need to maintain the illusion all the time, and there was no need to isolate the target's perception of the outside world all the time. The chakra consumption of this Genjutsu was not very large. The only thing he needed to pay attention to was to strengthen this illusion constantly, so that the target would remember everything in the illusion realm forever, or it would be completely blurred after a while. Roger's illusion for the Hulk at this time was an arena the size of a football field, with 2 Hulk fighting in the arena. These 2 Hulks are both proficient in boxing, Muay Thai, sparring, Israeli fighting arts, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and the U.S. Special Forces SCAR's fighting method. They could not feel tired, could not get hurt, and fought over and over again. To put it simply, this was like a real combat teaching video, which was created with the Hulk as the model. How much the Hulk could learn from this would depend on his comprehension ability. After permanently engraving this illusion teaching scene into the Hulk's memory, Roger's eyes returned to normal. You should learn this now. If there's a chance in the future, I will teach you a top-level body technique called inner 8 gates formation. Although he said this, even Roger did not know how to use inner 8 gates formation at this time. Moreover, more importantly, he did not know how to make the Hulk have chakra. Although the Hulk did not know what inner 8 gates formation was, his intuition told him it must be a very powerful body technique. The following time, after Roger and the Hulk finished eating the rest of the roasted meat and fruits, Roger finally received a call from Dr. Ross. "Get up. I'll take you to a place." Not long after the Hulk stood up, Roger targeted flying Thunder God Kanai in Dr. Ross' hand and then disappeared with the Hulk. After hanging up the phone, Dr. Ross anxiously held flying Thunder God Kanai, constantly turning his head to look around. She followed Roger's instructions and brought flying Thunder God Kanai to a forest in the suburb of Ottawa. Just as she was thinking about when Roger and Banner would appear, she suddenly saw a green giant in front of her. Banner. Although Dr. Ross knew Banner could transform into a green giant, she could not help but take a few steps back after seeing the Hulk with her own eyes. After bringing the Hulk over, Roger did not look at Dr. Ross. Instead, he directly opened the Systems Commission page. Mission content: stop the Hulk from destroying New York and send him to Canada. Mission status: complete. Mission reward: 50 ninja coins. Number of available ninja coins: 74. After confirming that the systems completed the commission, Roger turned to the Hulk and said, "Let Banner out. Take time to practice fighting. The next time we meet, you must become stronger." The Hulk turned to look at Roger. He did not speak and silently returned his body to Banner. When the Hulk became Banner again, Dr. Ross ran over and hugged Banner, whose clothes had been completely torn. "The commission is over. You can return the Kanai to me." Roger had just received Flying Thunder God Kanai from Dr. Ross when his phone rang. It was an unknown number. After the call was connected, he heard Natasha's voice. "What did you do? Why did a green giant appear again? Wait, why are you in Canada?" "You were just..." Roger did not answer Natasha and directly hung up the phone. This was the reason why he did not want to carry his mobile phone with him. These electronic products were too overstepped on privacy. Another green giant? Could it be Abomination? Looking at Banner and Dr. Ross, who hugged each other tightly, Roger coughed softly and said quietly, "H.I.L.D. has already located this place. If you don't want to be caught again, I suggest you leave immediately." Chapter 80: Abomination appears. After reminding Banner and Ross, Roger used Flying Thunder God technique to leave. As for what Banner and Ross would do in the future, it had nothing to do with it. Moreover, with the Hulk around, they would not be in danger. Roger first teleported back to where the pickup car was and put Kuzunagi's sword and the other stuff in it. Then, he teleported back to his office in New York. Just as he returned to his office, his phone rang again. "General Ross just reported a piece of information to us. The new green monster is not the Hulk, but Blonsky, who has been injected with Banner's serum. He sent a request for help to S.H.I.E.L.D. The director has agreed to his request." Natasha didn't dwell on the fact that Roger had just hung up on her and gave a quick overview of the current situation. "And then? What does this have to do with me?" After hearing Roger's answer, Natasha was suddenly stunned for a moment. Then she remembered that Roger was a private detective who accepted the commission, not S.H.I.L.D.'s agent. "Can we request a commission? The price will not be lower than that of Banner." "Not interested." After saying that, Roger hung up the phone again. Although Abomination appeared, he was not interested in stopping Abomination at all. Even if S.H.I.E.L.D. could give up all their money, he was not interested in dealing with Abomination. "The trouble you cause yourself, take care of it yourself." After putting Kuzunagi's sword, gun by Uchiwa, and other equipment back in the scroll, he turned on the TV in the office and then switched it to the Time News channel. After transforming into the Abomination, Blonsky originally only intended to destroy the base's laboratory and then take Dr. Stern away. But because of a small mistake, the laboratory exploded and Dr. Stern was killed on the spot. Regarding the tragic encounter with Dr. Stern, Blonsky felt slightly regretful for a second and then relied on his mighty strength to forcibly leave the base. If Blonsky left New York, General Ross would not be able to find him in a short time. I don't know if it's because of the influence of the serum or because of the absolute confidence brought about by the power surge. But Blonsky not only did not flee like Banner, but instead took the initiative to show up and vent his newly acquired great power in downtown New York. Thus, the scene of General Ross' army fighting against Abomination happened. It was not a very wise decision for General Ross to fight Abomination in the densely populated New York City district. They could not use large-scale killing weapons in the city or mobilize a large-scale army. The soldiers under them could not stop Abomination, so General Ross quickly made a decision and sent a request for help to S.H.A.L.D. Then S.H.I.E.L.D's request for help came to Roger. Because of his outstanding performance at Culver University, everyone regarded him as the best candidate for this mission. But they never thought that Roger would directly refuse. Looking at the news report, Roger leisurely drank the frozen drink and at the same time considered whether he should go to the VIP front row of the scene to watch Abomination. However, he finally gave up this plan and asked Erica to order takeout for himself. 20 minutes later, the door of the office was pushed open, but the one who walked in was not the takeout delivery man that Roger had imagined, but Natasha, who was wearing S.H.I.L.D's battle uniform. And in Natasha's hand, she was holding the takeout that the takeout delivery man should have sent. Blonsky now has power that is no weaker than the Hulk. If he continues like this, the entire New York will be destroyed. After saying that, Natasha put the takeout in front of Roger and continued, I know you don't have a good relationship with S.H.L.D., but the ordinary citizen outside needs your help now. Enough. Don't guilt-trip me with these so-called righteous actions. You are the ones who want to maintain world peace, but you are also the ones who create threats. If you didn't try to control the power that doesn't belong to you all the time, the monsters outside would not appear. Roger did not look at Natasha. Instead, he opened the delivery and took out the fried chicken and French fries. Are you really not going to make a move? Natasha's tone was no longer as challenging as before. Instead, there was a hint of pleading. It's not like you can't solve Blonsky. Although he's become green and bigger, he is still a flesh and blood creature. He could be tired out, injured, and bleed. At this point, Roger suddenly thought of something and put down the fried chicken drumstick and drinks in his hands. Living creatures, and they had their own consciousness. This fellow should meet the standards of a summoned beast. In order to confirm his TE, specially open the system's introduction of the summoned beast blood contract and read it. From Natasha's point of view, Roger seemed to be seriously thinking about something. She could not see the system page floating in front of Roger. It's not that I can't accept your commission, but I have a condition. After subduing this guy, he will belong to me. Sure, as long as you can subdue Blonsky, you can deal with him however you want. S.H.I.E.L.D. and the military will never ask anything about it. After hearing Roger's words, Natasha agreed without thinking. After getting Natasha's guarantee, Roger exchanged a commission scroll from the system. He used his last commission scroll when Dr. Ross was requesting the previous commission. The reward is $100 million. Write the rest yourself. Natasha was not surprised when she saw a scroll appear in Roger's hand out of thin air. She directly took the scroll and wrote the contents of the commission. Mission content: subdue Blonsky, Abomination. Mission status: incomplete. Mission reward: 30 ninja coins. When Natasha finished writing the scroll, a new mission appeared on the system's commission page. Compared to the Hulk, the system's evaluation of Abomination was much lower. The reward was less than half of the Hulk's commission. Abomination's reward was not that good. Of course, this could also be the system's judgment of his current strength. Although 30 ninja coins was not very abundant, it was enough for him to make this trip. And what he really wanted now was not ninja coins, but a summoned beast that belonged to him. After spending 20 coins to learn summoning technique, Roger always felt that he had suffered a loss. However, Abomination's appearance made him see some hope to make up for his psychological loss. Abomination, the summoned beast. Abomination looked a little ugly, But since he had already been classified as the summoned beast, the attractiveness score was not very important. Chapter 81, Summoned Beast. Abomination, I accept this commission. You can inform SHIELD to transfer the money now. After saying that, Roger directly used Flying Thunder God technique to leave office and went to the roof of a building near Abomination. Looking down from the roof, Abomination was like a wild beast, constantly destroying and attacking the streets. Although the soldiers around him were doing their best to attack Abomination, they did not bring any harm to Abomination. Instead, it made Abomination even more violent. Or it could be said that it makes Abomination even more excited. Looking at the civilians running around and the extremely nervous soldiers who could not retreat, Abomination could not help but laugh wildly. This kind of perfect body, this kind of powerful strength, this feeling of dominating everything. This is the future I really want. I'm a god. Just as Abomination was fantasizing about the beautiful future, a liquid bullet struck his right face like lightning, leaving a visible scar on his face. Water release, water gun technique. The one who launched the attack was none other than Roger, who had just jumped down from the roof of the building. At this time, although Roger was only wearing the 3 Magatama mask, Abomination recognized him at first glance. It was the guy who defeated the Hulk. After seeing that the attacker was Roger, Abomination did not casually attack like before. Instead, he analyzed Roger. This guy defeated the Hulk. If I beat him, it proves I'm stronger than the Hulk. I will be the strongest. After a series of illogical thoughts, Abomination instinctively ran towards Roger. In other people's eyes, Abomination was like a giant dinosaur running towards Roger. And in Roger's eyes, Abomination was like a green pet dog running towards his master. 10 meters, 5 meters, 3 meters, 1 meter. When Abomination came to a meter in front of him, Roger threw out the Flying Thunder God Kunai in his hand casually. Although Abomination knew that Roger could teleport, he had absolute confidence to punch Roger into a meat patty at this distance. However, things did not develop as he had imagined. In a flash, Roger disappeared when his right fist was only a few centimeters away from him. After noticing that Roger had disappeared, Abomination withdrew his fist and immediately turned around. The scene of Roger using Big Ball Rasengan to hit the Hulk left a deep impression on Abomination. He did not want to encounter the same fate as the Hulk in the past. Abomination was unlike the Hulk, who personally experienced the power of Big Ball Rasengan because Roger never used Big Ball Rasengan in the first place. Abomination turned around and saw the Flying Thunder God Kunai that Roger had just thrown out. Before he realized what had happened, the scene in front of him instantly changed. Now, what was in front of him was no longer the chaotic street, but a forest he had never seen before. Roger did not intend to deal with Abomination in New York City District, so he directly brought Abomination to one of the forests where he practiced would release. He threw out Flying Thunder God Kunai, used Flying Thunder God technique. Second step, left Flying Thunder God's formula on Abomination, and then sent it here together. Before obtaining Sage Mode, Roger was not exceptionally skilled in the Flying Thunder God technique. Second step, so he rarely used Flying Thunder God technique. Second step in battle, but after having Sage Mode, he found that his grasp of the Flying Thunder God technique. Second step had a massive improvement. Now, as long as he wanted to, he could use Flying Thunder God technique. Second step at any time and anywhere, and he did not have to worry about the possibility of failure. After bringing Abomination to this unknown forest, Roger did not give him any time to respond. He directly used Wood Release, Wood Dragon technique. A 10-meter-long hook-nosed dragon rose from the ground, instantly coiled around Abomination, and completely entangled him. Like the Hulk, Abomination belittles this wooden dragon at first, but he soon finds his thoughts are a little too naive. Don't waste your energy struggling. Unless I am willing to let you out, you will never be able to break free. After saying that, Roger let the wooden dragon bite Abomination. Although this would not cause any harm to Abomination, Roger still did it. No reason besides to provoke Abomination. His physical strength rapidly left his body, and the wooden dragon was getting tighter and tighter. Only now, Abomination finally understood why S.H.I.E.L.D. had entrusted Roger to capture the Hulk. From the result, Abomination's speculation was correct. However, in reality, the Hulk was even more miserable than he was now. After all, what the Hulk suffered was not with dragon technique, but big ball raising Gan. I won't have a long chit-chat with you. I have a contract scroll here. After signing it, you will be my summoned beast. When I need it, I will summon you to fight for me. In return, you will have a certain degree of freedom, and you will not be pursued by both S.H.I.E.L.D. and General Ross. Roger took out the blood contract scroll that the system had given him last time and opened the side that needed a blood signature. Go to hell. Sign your head. Although Abomination didn't know what summoned beast meant, he knew well that he could not sign this blood contract. If he signed it, it would be a fate worse than death. Whether you are willing or not, you must sign it today. As soon as he finished speaking, Roger increased the output of his chakra, increasing the speed of the wooden dragon, absorbing Abomination's physical strength. Not long after, Abomination, who was initially active as if he had been injected with stimulants, became incomparably weak and breathed heavily. After the wooden dragon let go of Abomination, the nearly 4-meter-tall Abomination fell uncontrollably forward, letting out a low sound of falling to the ground. I'll ask you again, do you want to sign it? Although the current Abomination couldn't stand up, he still clearly expressed his opinion. Although Roger could use the power of Sharingan to control Abomination to sign the contract directly, this was not a long-term plan, and he couldn't always pay attention to THF Abomination every day to check whether he was still under the effect of Sharingan. Therefore, he decided to solve all his problems right here and now. Would human technique. A 5-meter-tall wooden sculpture rushed out from the ground and came in front of Abomination, giving him a beating. Time passed slowly. After being intensely exploited by wooden sculpture's iron fist, Abomination used his right finger to touch some of the green blood that flowed out of his body. He wrote his name on the blood contract scroll. When Abomination finished writing his name, Roger opened his attribute panel and looked at Summoned Beast column. Summoned Beast, Frank the Punisher, reincarnated by Edo Tensei, Abomination Blonsky. Chapter 82. After 1 year looking at the information on the status panel, Roger nodded with satisfaction. Then, he said to Abomination, lying on the ground, "From now on, you are my summoned beast. Under normal circumstances, I will not restrict your freedom, but you better control your temper and not cause trouble everywhere. Also, when I communicate with you, you better listen to the instruction obediently. Someone will come to find you later. He is also my subordinate. As for whether the two of you plan to live together or separately will be up to you. Let me remind you one last time. Don't try to escape. If I find out, I will let you have a good chat with the woodman and let it correct your wrong thoughts." After giving his instructions, Roger used Flying Thunder God technique to return to his office, then informed the Punisher to pick up Abomination in the forest. The matter on Abomination's side had temporarily come to an end. The commission would be completed as long as S.H.I.E.L.D. paid him. He now had a total of 73 available ninja coins. If he added the 30 more, his number of available ninja coins had once again recovered to the level of 3 digits. After having Sage Mode and the 2 additional wood release and Ninjutsu, his demand for Ninjutsu decreased even further. Whether it was attack or control, he now had enough tricks in his bag, and there was no situation where his attack power was insufficient or his control skills were inadequate for the time being. After thinking about it, he opened the system's exchange page and looked at the basic ninjutsu on the first page of the exchange page. Transformation technique. It was one of the 3 techniques taught by the ninja school. The basic of the basics. The basic jutsu that any must shinobi knows. A ninja who does not know the transformation technique is not even qualified to graduate from a ninja school. However, Roger had never exchanged that basic ninjutsu. He only exchanged for the body substitution technique, and he even studied it to an instinctive level. he definitely wouldn't exchange for the body substitution technique. He already had Shadow Clone. So exchanging for the body substitution technique was a waste of ninja coins. Compared to the body substitution technique, the body transformation technique was undoubtedly much more practical, and the improvement in the future might be even greater. When the body transformation technique was used to its limit, it could even make the chakra progenitor reveal a flaw in the fierce battle. Just as Roger was thinking about whether he should exchange for the transformation technique now, his phone on the table received a transfer message, a transfer of $100 million. When the phone received the transfer message, the commission in the system became completed, and the 30 ninja coins also received it simultaneously. The transformation technique needed 30 ninja coins, so he finally exchanged for this ninjutsu, which might be of great use in the future. By condensing chakra to change his appearance, the transformation technique made him transform into someone else. Conventional means could not see through this technique. Apart from becoming someone else, he could also become an animal or an item. Whether it was transforming into a human, an animal, or an item, it was just a change in appearance and would not change the personality or power. This also meant that even if he used the transformation technique to transform into the Hulk, he would not have the same physique and strength as the Hulk. The transformation technique is a divine blessing for secret agents or spies. But for Roger, who liked to face the front, the most critical use of the transformation technique was to confuse the enemy. After confirming the chakra circulation method of the transformation technique, he began his first transformation. Bang! When the white smoke dispersed, the person sitting on the chair became Natasha Romanoff. Just by looking at the appearance, there is no problem. But this technique is too weak, isn't it? The effect of the technique will be removed if you withstand even a little attack. It is enough to scare people. As for the rest, Roger stopped the messy thoughts in his mind and dispelled the effect of the transformation technique. Time flew by, and a year passed in the blink of an eye. This year, Roger took on some commissions from time to time, earning some ninja coins for himself. Most of the time, he spent the research and control of the Sharingan and would release, making these two bloodline limits become entirely part of him. After finishing this day of cultivation, Roger opened his attribute panel and looked at his current status. Host, Roger Job. Ninja, talent. Sealing technique, 7. Attribute chakra, bloodline limit. Sharingan, would release. Constitution, Sage mode, Hashirama Senju. Ninjutsu, body substitution. Body flickering technique. Temporary paralysis technique. Shadow clone. Flying thunder god technique. Second step. Sensing technique. Rasengan, self-taught. Big ball Rasengan, self-taught. Psychic, transformation, would release. Would dragon technique. Would human technique lightning release. Chidori, Chidori sharp spear. Chidori current fire release. Great fire annihilation water release. Water gun technique, Jinjutsu. Bringer of darkness technique, Jinjutsu. Sharingan. False memory physical technique. Chakra enhanced strength chakra volume. One tail summoned beast. Frank the Punisher, reincarnated by Edo Tensei. Abomination Blonsky number of available ninja coins. 256. There were no changes to ninjutsu, and he was still the same 1 year ago. As for ninja coins, he did not receive many commissions this year and only earned over 100. Roger originally planned to let the Punisher and Abomination do the commission by themselves, but he found that the system perfectly avoided the loopholes on this side. If he did not accept and carry out the commission himself, the system would never mark it as completed. Even if he accepted the commission and then arranged for the Punisher and Abomination to do it, the system would also remove the commission that had passed the judgment and deduct 5 of his ninja coins. After losing several ninja coins, he decisively gave up the idea of being lazy and went to carry out the commission himself. Among them, the one who changed the most was his chakra volume. According to his judgment, under the condition of having Sage mode, he should be able to obtain more than 100 levels in a year of cultivation. But he found that he had underestimated this Sage mode of Hashirama Senju. In the past year, his chakra volume had successfully increased from level 102 to level 300. Then, the system changed chakra volume's measurement unit to tail. As for the current chakra volume, whether the measurement of one tail is equal to one one-tailed beast, or one nine-tailed beast, or one 10-tailed beast. He doesn't know for sure. Chakra volume's growth also brought another benefit. His power now far surpassed his power a year ago. In other words, he was now even stronger. Chapter 83. Mjolnir. Although he now had 256 ninja coins, Roger did not have any ninjutsu or items that he wanted to exchange for. He even had 5 commission scrolls that he usually consumed the fastest, so he would not have any need to exchange for them in a short period of time. Just as he was thinking about expanding his business scope, he received a call from Frank the Punisher. Since turning Abomination into his own summoned beast, Roger had formed a team with the two of them and had them gather some strange metals outside. At the same time, he had them act as messengers of justice and protect the social security of the United States. To put it simply, it was to let them look for trouble with the local gangs from time to time. While maintaining justice, they would also provide income for Office. Because of their hard work, Office's business income had a significant improvement, and it even attracted IRS's attention. If not for SHILD silently suppressing this matter, Roger would have been invited by the Taxation Bureau to drink tea. Of course, in return, Roger finally came to an unofficial meeting with SHILD's director, Nick Fury, who had the title of Motherfucker, and reached a consensus on some issues. Sir, we found the hammer that fell from the sky. As you predicted, SHILD's people found the hammer and built a simple research base around it. The hammer that the Punisher was talking about was Thor's hammer. Although Roger knew that Thor's hammer would appear in New Mexico, he did not know when Thor's hammer would fall. Therefore, half a year ago, he used the simplest and crudest method, which was to send the Punisher and Abomination to New Mexico so that they could pay attention to the situation there at any time. There was indeed a reward for waiting. After hanging up the phone call from the Punisher, Roger began to sense Flying Thunder God's formula on the Punisher. Thor, we finally meet. I hope you can bring me some unexpected surprises. When the Punisher ended the call with Roger, a strong man with long golden hair suddenly broke into the research base. He quickly knocked down the guard in the base and quickly approached Thor's hammer in the middle of the research base. This guy is quite skilled. It is obvious that he has undergone professional combat training. It is impossible for the guards in the middle to stop him. The one who spoke was Abomination, who was nearly 4 meters tall. At this time, Abomination completely lost his fierce and arrogant attitude from before. After signing a spiritual contract with Roger, Abomination escaped several times in disbelief, but the result of his escape was not good. He even saw the border of Canada. That time, Abomination was taught by wooden sculpture and wooden dragon for a whole month, and then he completely gave up. This is SHIELD's matter. We don't have to do anything. We just have to make sure that the hammer is not taken away. The Punisher also found Thor, who was rampaging in the research base, but he did not take Thor seriously. Although Thor had displayed his exquisite combat skills, in the Punisher's eyes, he was only at the same level as SHIELD's elite agent. Without his divine power, there was nothing particularly noteworthy about Thor. Right now, not only did he not have the power of Thor, but he did not even have the superpower and physique that the Asgardians should have. Just as Thor invaded the research base, a few bolts of lightning suddenly flashed in the dark night sky, followed by heavy rain. Someone go to the high ground and bring your weapon. At this time, the person in charge of this research base was none other than Coulson's agent. Although Thor's invasion caught SHIELD off guard, however, SHIELD was a professional agent organization. The entire base instantly entered a state of alert, and more agents were chasing Thor. What's the situation? After giving the order, Coulson came to the command room and asked. The hammer sent out a huge amount of electromagnetic waves. The system can't record it, and the equipment can only be barely maintained. The interference from this thing is too big. After listening to the report, Coulson took out the walkie-talkie and said, "Barton, speak." "Sir, Do you want me to stop him, or do you want to send more people to hit him? Barton stood in a crane basket and said calmly. At the same time, he pulled out the composite bow in his hand. Wait for my order. Coulson did not give the order to attack. Instead, he quickly walked in Thor's direction. After knocking down all the SHIELD agents that appeared on the road, Thor finally arrived at the center of the research base. He was only a few meters away from Thor's hammer. Looking at Thor's hammer, who had accompanied him for 1,000 years, a gratified smile appeared on Thor's face. As long as I can lift Thor's hammer again, I can regain Thor's strength. I am Asgardian's Thor. Just as Thor thought that he was about to end the test that Odin had given him, a strong black man over 2 meters tall suddenly appeared in front of him and gave him a heavy punch, knocking him to the ground. You are quite big. The knocked out Thor quickly stood up and said, but I have knocked down an even bigger one. As soon as he finished speaking, Thor's right fist fiercely struck the black man's face, and the two of them instantly engaged in a fight. While Thor and the black man were locked in battle, Roger also arrived in front of the Punisher. Sir, are we also going to join the battle? Seeing Roger appear, Abomination immediately asked. Although he had been taught by wooden sculpture and wooden dragon for a month, Abomination was still the Abomination who desired to fight. However, before the battle, he would ask for Roger's consent. No need. I will deal with the matters here. You can continue the entertainment activities from before. The entertainment activity that Roger was talking about was the work that the Punisher and Abomination had created for Office. To them, this was a job that would make both of them feel happy. The Punisher and Abomination had no objections to Roger's arrangements and immediately left. Looking at Thor, who was tightly hugging and rolling in the mud, Roger silently used sensing technique to sense Thor's condition. This seal is ridiculously strong. There did not seem to be much of a problem on Thor's face, but in his body, there was an unimaginably powerful seal. This seal not only completely sealed the power of Thor in Thor's body, it even suppressed his Asgardian physique to an extremely low level. That feeling was like a heavyweight boxing king who was more than 2 meters tall, was forcefully suppressed to the state of a newborn. Just when Roger was shocked by the seal in Thor's body, Thor used a beautiful flying kick to knock the black man to the ground, and then ruthlessly kicked the black man on the head. After doing all this, Thor, who was covered in dirt, came to Thor's hammer and Mjolnir and grabbed the hammer handle of Thor's hammer with a smile on his face. Then there was no more. Thor used both hands and used all the strength in his body, but Thor's hammer still remained motionless, without any signs of moving. After dozens of seconds of hard work, Thor looked at the night sky that was shining with lightning with a look of disbelief and roared with incomparable grief and indignation towards the sky. Whether it was Coulson, Barton, or other SHIELD agents, they all silently watched Thor, who was kneeling on the ground. All right, the performance is over. Ground units attack. Looking at Thor, who seemed to have lost his soul, Coulson raised his walkie-talkie and issued a new order. At this time, a shining silver-white flying thunder god Kenai flew toward Thor's hammer like lightning. When flying thunder god Kenai hit Thor's hammer, Roger instantly appeared and held flying thunder god Kenai in his hand. Is this Thor's hammer? Roger did not pay attention to Thor next to him, nor did he pay attention to the condescending Coulson, Barton, and others. He directly grabbed the handle of Thor's hammer and then suddenly exerted force with his right hand. Kacha! Thor's hammer, who had not moved since falling, suddenly moved. Chapter 84. Chased by lightning, Mjolnir did not move much, and the sound of its movement was very small. But even so, Mjolnir's movement still shocked everyone present. This hammer could actually be picked up. Coulson, Barton, and the other SHIELD agents all revealed expressions of disbelief. After discovering Mjolnir, they tried all kinds of methods to move Thor's hammer. However, no matter the method, Mjolnir showed no signs of moving, as if it was connected to the entire earth. Coulson, Barton, and the others only felt incredible, and as the former master of Mjolnir, Thor was even more shocked than everyone else. No one knew Mjolnir better than him. Because of this, he was shocked by the scene in front of him. In Thor's memory, other than himself and Odin, no one could lift Mjolnir. I was forsaken, and even Mjolnir was unwilling to recognize me. Why would Mjolnir prefer to be raised by a stranger than return to my hands? I really am. Roger did not know what was going on in Thor's mind. He was also in the same state of confusion. What kind of situation was this? Didn't Mjolnir have Odin's spell? Wasn't it said that only pure and righteous people could lift Mjolnir? Didn't they say that as long as they could lift Mjolnir, they would be able to possess Thor's strength? Was there a bug in the Odin spell? Before Roger could understand what was going on, the Mjolnir in his hand suddenly became incomparably heavy, and then with a bang, he directly fell to the ground. The moment Mjolnir fell to the ground, a bolt of blue lightning as thick as a bucket descended from the sky and struck directly at Roger. Boom! The lightning directly hit Mjolnir on the ground. The raging current produced a tornado of air currents, sending the people around him flying. When the lightning was about to hit him, Roger used Flying Thunder God technique to leave this place and return to the small hill outside the base. At this time, he was very glad that he had left Flying Thunder God Kanai here before he went to the research base. The speed of the lightning was far beyond his expectations. If he had not left Flying Thunder God Kanai behind in advance, he would have been the first person to be hit by lightning because he raised Mjolnir. Although Roger was far away from Thor's hammer, the lightning did not seem to intend to let him go. Initially filled with lightning and thunder, a lightning bolt suddenly enveloped the night sky, and the entire night sky became as white as day. Without giving Roger any time to think, the lightning in the sky seemed to have a mind of its own as it attacked him one after another. Boom, 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 he was inexplicably struck by so many lightning bolts, each one thicker than the last. Without the slightest hesitation, Roger instantly made a decision. Flying Thunder God technique. Because there was no other Flying Thunder God's formula around the research base, Roger had no way of repeatedly jumping around with these lightning bolts. The coordinates he used this time were the Punisher, who had already left this place. At this time, the Punisher and Abomination were heading to a nearby town, discussing which city they would go to next to carry out their work. When Roger reappeared, they were stunned for a moment. Then, they understood why Roger appeared. The next second after Roger appeared, a few lightning bolts suddenly fell from the night sky and hit the Punisher and Abomination. As for Roger himself, he returned to the small hill outside the research base through Flying Thunder God technique. Most of the lightning struck the small hill, making it look like several missiles had barraged it. As for the remaining lightning, it struck the Punisher and Abomination. One had an Edo Tensei body, and the other had thick skin, so Roger was not particularly worried about their situation. After confirming that there was no lightning in the night sky, he pulled out Flying Thunder God Kanai, which was stuck in the ground, and slowly walked towards the research base. If you don't own something, do not touch it carelessly, unless you want to be struck by lightning. Although Roger had not figured out what had happened just now, he decided not to touch Mjolnir if there was no significant reason. Moreover, in the short time when he mentioned Mjolnir, he felt as if a great existence was watching him. But he was not sure if this gaze came from the father of all gods, Odin, or from an existence he did not aware of. Anyway, no matter what, Mjolnir is now on the list of stuff he absolutely must not touch unless necessary. After arriving at the research base again, Roger enjoyed D's warm hospitality. More than 10 fully armed guards raised the weapons in their hands and aimed at his head. Don't do anything stupid. Just notify your supervisor, Coulson. Although these D guards did not know Roger's true identity, after hearing the name of Coulson, they still silently reported the situation. Not long after, Coulson walked out of the base and came directly in front of Roger. What are you doing here? Coulson looked at Roger warily. Although D and Roger were currently in a friendly term, he knew very well that this so-called cooperation could be suspended at any time. I heard that you found a very strange hammer, so I came to take a look. By the way, if you don't mind, I want to take the guy inside. Coulson and the others did not know Thor's true identity at all. They just regarded Thor as a foreign country spy. As for why this secret agent took the risk to snatch the hammer, they had not figured it out yet. At this time, Thor was suspended in an interrogation room. Covered in dirt, he was in a complicated state of loss and shock. He was disappointed because he found that he had lost the recognition of Mjolnir, lost the hope of becoming Thor again and returning to his guardian. He was shocked because he found the Midgardian, a mere earthling, could move Mjolniring. This was something even the Asgardians could not do. If Roger had not been attacked by lightning that time, Thor thought that Mjolnir would found a new master. Just as Thor was confused, Loki, wearing a nice suit, suddenly appeared in front of him. "Loki, why are you here?" Seeing his brother suddenly appear in front of him, Thor's face appeared hopeful. "I came here especially to see you," Loki said in a low tone. "What happened? Did something happen to Jotunheim? Let me explain it to father," Thor said hurriedly. He had never been so eager to see his father. But Loki's following words immediately made him fall into the abyss of despair. "Our father is dead." Chapter 85. Loki, the god of trickery father, is dead. Odin, the father of all gods, is dead. Soon after, an irrepressible sadness and frustration welled up in his heart. "What?" Thor asked with an incomparably sad tone. "Exiling you, coupled with the threat of war, makes him unable to bear it any longer. Don't blame yourself. I know you love him. I want to tell him, but he won't listen." Hearing Loki's words, Thor could not help but shed tears. It's cruel to put the Mjolnir by your side when you know you can no longer lift it. The burden of the throne now falls on my shoulders. "Then can I go home?" Thor asked in a tone that had never been used before. "The terms of the truce are that you must be exiled." "Yes, but we can figure out a way. Mother also forbids you to go back." Although they grew up in the same family, it had to be said that in terms of IQ, Loki overshadowed Thor. However, this was also Loki's talent. Of people with low IQ, couldn't Bekamido become a god of trickery? "Farewell, brother. I am very sorry." "No, I am sorry. Thank you for coming here." After fooling Thor completely, Loki left the interrogation room with satisfaction and came to Mjolnir. After a friendly exchange, Coulson finally agreed to let Roger take Thor away. Just as they were heading to the interrogation room, Roger saw Loki, who was trying to lift Mjolnir. "That guy is trying to lift Mjolnir. Don't you care about him?" At this time, Loki was in a state of magic stealth. The staff of S.H.I.E.L.D. around him did not notice his existence. "Which guy?" Coulson followed Roger's gaze, but he did not see anything. "It's the guy in a suit with black hair." Although Roger had never seen Loki, he was 100% sure that the person who was trying to lift Mjolnir was Loki. "Forget it. It's useless to tell you." After saying that, Roger went directly to the aisle near Mjolnir and said to Loki, who was below, "You are Thor's younger brother, right? Please don't lift Mjolnir. After you lift it, you will be struck by lightning." Loki did not expect that someone could see through his stealth magic. What surprised him even more was that Roger knew his identity in Mjolnir. "Who are you?" Loki withdrew his hands and silently placed them inside his suit jacket, ready to pull out a small dagger at any time. "My name is Roger. I'm a ninja." "Ninja? What kind of job was this?" Loki thought that Roger was able to see through his stealth magic so easily because he was a mage like him. In the eyes of Coulson and the others, Roger looked like he was talking to air. However, as an experienced agent, Coulson immediately reacted and secretly arranged for S.H.I.E.L.D. staff to scan the surrounding environment of Thor's hammer. After carefully analyzing Roger, Loki did not say a word and turned to leave. A strange guy who appeared out of nowhere, and he didn't look strong at all, a low-level existence that didn't need to be cared about at all. Roger did not stop Loki from leaving. He only used his Sharingan to silently observe the energy around his body that could not be detected by the naked eye and saw an energy that he had never seen before. Is this Asgardian's magic? Interesting. When Loki's figure completely disappeared, Roger turned to Coulson and said, "That guy has already left." What follows is the usual release procedure. The only thing worth noting is that when leaving the research base, Thor silently took a notebook that was placed on the table. "I didn't expect you to have this kind of talent." H.I.L. D-Staff did not notice Thor's sleight of hand, allowing him to easily take away the notebook that belonged to Dr. Jane Foster. Why can you lift Mjolnir? Also, why did you come to save me? I'll answer those questions later. What you need now is to change into clean clothes and fix your diet first. More than an hour later, in a restaurant at Annika Puente, Roger, Thor, and Dr. Jane Foster looked at each other and maintained a strange silence. Who are you? Thor was the first to break the silence. My name is Roger. I am a private detective. Roger did not say that he was a ninja, because if he were a ninja, he would have to explain what a ninja was later. This would make the topic even more complicated. A private detective? Whether it was a ninja or a private detective, Thor did not understand either. You can understand it as someone who helps others to solve their problems and receives payment. Roger explained, I understand, just like a mercenary. Although there were no private detectives in Asgard, there were mercenaries, so Thor quickly understood what a private detective is. Strictly speaking, private detectives and mercenaries were two completely different jobs. But now, no one cared about these small details. Why can you lift Mjolnir? This is not something that Midgardian can do. This is a bit geographical discrimination. Although Asgard has a longer history, Midgard is also not a backward place. And whether or not you can lift Mjolnir has nothing to do with whether you are an Asgardian or not. As long as Odin's trial can recognize you, you can lift it. Sitting next to Thor, Dr. Foster looked at Thor and Roger with confusion. She knew every word that Thor said to Roger, but she could not understand the meaning of it at all. My father. Thor's expression suddenly became desolate. I saw your brother just now. He is quite handsome, but a little cunning and not an honest person. Loki has always been like this. He has always liked to play pranks since he was young. When he mentioned Loki, a look of relief appeared on Thor's lonely face. Looking at Thor's current expression, Roger could not help but sigh. The same pair of parents raised them. Why was the IQ gap so big? He had intended to remind Thor that Odin was still alive. But now he has given up on this idea. Your father is not dead yet. Don't underestimate your father too much. He is the father of all gods, a powerful existence with a great reputation in the entire universe. Chapter 86, Destroyer. Odin's masterpiece, My Father Is Not Dead. Thor's voice became excited. Of course, you gotta have some confidence in your father. Father of all gods is not just a title. Without enough strength, the others in the universe will not recognize the title Father of all gods. Hearing this, Thor also calmed down a little and began to think seriously. After eliminating some subjective ideas, he felt more and more that Roger's words were correct, mainly because Loki has too many bad records. So after calming down, Thor quickly noticed the loopholes. Then how can I go back? Thor asked the question he was most concerned about. I don't know. Thor initially thought that Roger knew how to let him return to Asgard, but Roger's answer instantly extinguished his fire of hope. I also want to go to Asgard, so if you find a way back, I hope you can bring me along. The reason why Roger talked so much to Thor was pure, because he also wanted to go to Asgard and see the world outside the Earth. The universe is so big. I want to go and see. He thinks to himself, in addition, he also wanted to go to Asgard to see the completely different civilization system from Earth, especially the part about fighting and magic. You want to go to Asgard? That's right. Looking at Roger's serious face, Thor thought about it. Bringing a Midgardian to Asgard, although this was not very consistent with Asgard's rules, was not a particularly serious matter. After seriously thinking for several minutes, Thor finally made a decision. If I can return to Asgard, I can take you with me. However, I have one condition. I want you to protect the people here from harm in the meantime. Although Thor was not as bright as Loki, he lived with Loki for over 1,000 years. Therefore, after understanding some things, he knew very well what Loki would do next. After losing his power, he finally began to understand the responsibility that Odin had often told him before. No problem. Not to mention just protecting the people here. Even if Thor asked him to deal with Loki, he would also not refuse. After reaching an agreement with Thor, Roger left the restaurant and booked a room in the best hotel in the small town. He also paid the rent for a week at once. Roger originally planned to book a room for Thor, But after thinking of Gene Foster, he silently dispelled this idea. With Thor's appearance, even if he weren't familiar with this place and were penniless, he definitely wouldn't wander the streets. After all, this kind of strong man with a handsome face and long golden hair was still very popular in this country. For the next few days, Thor stayed with Dr. Gene Foster. He taught Dr. Gene Foster about the universe. And, at the same time, he also tried hard to learn the knowledge of the Earth. At night, Thor would usually stay at Dr. Gene Foster's side. During the day, he would appear by Roger's side. Although he had lost the strength he was so proud of, and Asgard's innate strong physique had been suppressed to the point of being an ordinary person. But Thor didn't let that sink him. It was exactly because he was in the weakest period of his life that he needed more strength. Although he didn't have the same strength as before, Thor quickly adapted to his current state, revealing the combat experience of a top warrior. That punch just now was pretty good, worthy of being the former Thor of Asgard. To make the battle even fairer, Roger did not use chakra, nor did he open his Sharingan. Your combat skills are also excellent. Not many in the Asgard Royal Guard have your kind of skills. While Roger and Thor were exchanging battle techniques, Thor's good friends, Sif and the Warriors 3 of Asgard came to Earth with the help of Heimdall. If possible, Sif and the others would not want to travel to Earth in a way that would defy the King's orders. But there was no other way. It was Loki who was now sitting on the throne of Asgard. The huge energy of the Rainbow Bridge connecting the two worlds attracted not only D's attention, but also Roger's attention. That thing just now should be the Rainbow Bridge. It looks like someone is looking for you. Roger pointed at the spiral-shaped cloud in the distance. That's right, it's the Rainbow Bridge that's doing the teleportation. Thor's eyes instantly became serious as he looked at the spiral-shaped cloud in the distance with a solemn expression. Thor originally thought Loki sent the people to hunt him. When he saw that Sif and the Warriors 3 were sent over, the stern expression on his face instantly disappeared. Among Asgard, besides his parents and Loki, the people he trusted the most were Warriors 3 and Sif. However, before he could talk to Shifu and the others, the Rainbow Bridge opened again and sent the real enemy over. When the second teleportation of the Rainbow Bridge had just ended, Roger used the sensing technique to sense the thing that was sent over. This energy level is almost like cheating, worthy of Odin's specially built destroyer. Prepare for battle. The destroyer is here. Roger silently reminded Thor. When the flying dust from the teleportation gradually dispersed, Coulson and the others who had rushed over finally saw the appearance of the destroyer. Is it a robot created by Stark? I don't know. That guy refused to tell me anything. Coulson took the loudspeaker from the The agent next to him came to the destroy, shouted loudly, "Hello, your weapons and equipment are not registered. Please show your identification immediately." After hearing Coulson's words, the destroyer silently stopped and opened the armor on his face. Just as Coulson and the others thought the destroyer would reveal his identity according to their request, they saw the orange-red light shining on the destroyer's face. Then, there was a powerful beam with a high temperature. Boom! In just a few seconds, the destroyer smashed D's car in front of him into pieces and then walked straight toward the town. Lure the enemy out of the town. You should know better than me what kind of power the destroyer has. Fighting in a small town. Even if we win, this town will probably be gone. After sensing the power of the high-temperature beam that the destroyer had just fired, Roger turned to Thor and said, "We are in charge of stopping the destroyers, and you are in charge of evacuating the town's residents." Thor did not refuse Roger's suggestion to meet the enemy outside the town, but he did not intend to let Roger participate in this battle. This was Asgardian's matter, and Asgardian should solve it. No, the weak are responsible for evacuating the residents. You are the weakest here, so you are responsible for that. Chapter 87, Attack on Destroyer. The weakest guy was responsible for evacuating the residents of the town. Thor had lived for 1,000 years, but this was the first time he had heard someone say this to him. "I like this guy, haha." Volstagg, one of the Warriors 3, patted Thor on the shoulder, then put the axe in his hand on his shoulder and walked out of the town with a laugh. Weakness is original sin, and you can now slowly get used to that. Although Fandral, one of the Warriors Three, did not laugh as loudly as Vostag. He turned to Thor and gave him a look that he understood. As for Hogan, he did not speak. He sighed silently and followed Volstagg, who left first with mace in his hand. Sif originally wanted to go with the Warriors Three to fight against the Destroyer. Still, after seeing Thor's slightly helpless expression, she finally stayed and decided to evacuate the town's residents with Thor. After Roger finished speaking, he used body flickering technique to leave the town. He was unwilling to let go of the opportunity to fight against the Destroyer. The Destroyer was the ultimate weapon that Odin initially made to resist the invasion of the Celestials. However, after its creation, the most thing the Destroyer did was guard Asgard's palace treasury. Although the Destroyer had never officially fought with the Celestial, the ultimate weapon that Odin entrusted with such an important task, even if it did not have any eye-catching battle records, but also enough to make people fear fighting it. The primary material of the Destroyer was URU metal, and the source of energy was Odin's divine power. This also meant that the Destroyer possessed an incomparably powerful defense and an almost unlimited amount of energy. Looking at the Destroyer's body, which was over 6 meters tall and emitted a silvery white light, the first thought that came to Roger's mind was not that the Destroyer was powerful, but that the Destroyer should be very valuable. Just as some inappropriate thoughts came to Roger's mind, the Destroyer opened the armor on his face, and then a powerful high-temperature beam of light. Boom! The high-temperature beam struck the ground where Roger had just stood, leaving a large crater more than 3 meters in diameter on the floor. As for Roger himself, when the high-temperature beam was about to hit him, he used body flickering technique to change his position. After dodging the high-temperature beam of the Destroyer, Roger bit his right thumb and then directly hit the ground. Summoning technique. With his right palm as the center, a complicated seal formation appeared on the ground, followed by 2 balls of white smoke of different sizes. The Punisher and Abomination were summoned. The Punisher and Abomination were attacking a notorious gang and were about to defeat them. But at this critical moment, they were summoned by Roger. Ever since they became Roger's pet, this was the first time they had gained independence in battle. The Punisher didn't have many thoughts about being summoned by him, and his expression was as calm as ever. Compared to the calm Punisher, Abomination was extremely excited. He could finally enjoy the thrill of battle. He finally didn't have to bully those weak chickens. He could finally enjoy the battle to his heart's content. After listening to Roger's instructions, Abomination didn't say a word and ran towards the Destroyer. At the same time, he let out waves of excited roars. When he saw that Abomination was about to pounce on the Destroyer like a hungry wolf, a dull and heavy voice suddenly came from Abomination. Bang! Abomination was completely unaware of what had happened. He only felt an indescribable pain coming from his abdomen, and he was sent flying. In the face of the menacing Abomination, the Destroyer did not do much, not even shoot high-temperature beams. The only thing the Destroyer did was lift his right leg and kick Abomination after Abomination entered his attack range. What followed next was the scene of Abomination being kicked flying. After flying more than 100 meters, Abomination fell from the sky and slammed into the ground. Is the Destroyer actually this powerful? Seeing that Abomination was kicked away so easily, Roger found that he seemed to have underestimated the Destroyer. If the one who had just been kicked was him, Roger could not help but take a deep breath. However, he would not be kicked by the Destroyer like Abomination. Only Abomination, whose mind was filled with barbaric fighting methods, would use such a reckless method to fight the Destroyer. After looking at the Abomination, who was kicked away, Roger turned his attention back to the Destroyer. In the face of the Destroyer, a combat machine with few obvious shortcomings, face-to-face brute force confrontation is the most stupid tactic, and Abomination has proved this very well. Since that was the case, let's use speed to determine the victor. Roger instantly activated his Sharingan, then threw Flying Thunder God Kunai towards the Destroyer. Although the Destroyer saw Flying Thunder God Kunai, it did not take it seriously. In its judgment, Flying Thunder God Kanai was the kind of insignificant, weak attack that would not cause any injuries, even if he was hit. Clang! Without any suspense, Flying Thunder God Kanai hit the destroyer's chest, making a crisp sound of metal colliding, and then bounced back. The moment Flying Thunder God Kanai was bounced back, Roger used Flying Thunder God technique to arrive in front of the destroyer, and his left hand grabbed the bounced Flying Thunder God Kanai. Big Ball Rasengan. A 1-meter-wide Big Ball Rasengan floated up to Roger's right hand and then ruthlessly hit the destroyer's chest. Although the destroyer had a certain level of self-awareness, Roger's attack was completely beyond its scope of understanding. The destroyer didn't even have time to fire a high-temperature beam before it was sent flying by Roger's Big Ball Rasengan. Big Ball Rasengan's twisting and tearing ability completely fell on the destroyer, sending the 6-meter-tall destroyer flying out in an irregular spiral shape. The destroyer's limbs and body were quickly distorted, as if his entire body had been messed up and then randomly reassembled. However, the destroyer quickly stood up again. Under Roger's gaze, it restored its twisted limbs and body to their original appearance. It can do that too? The destroyer's characteristic structure makes it virtually immune to the Big Ball Rasengan's damage. Other than making it fly a little awkwardly, Big Ball Rasengan did not cause much damage to it. Big Ball Rasengan didn't have the desired effect, and Roger did not care too much about this. He raised his hand to cast another ninjutsu. Would release, would dragon technique. The destroyer was not Abomination and the Hulk, so when he used wood dragon technique, he did not hold back. The nearly 20-meter-long hook-nosed wooden dragon sprang out from the ground. Like a python, caught its prey, and tightly wrapped around the 6-meter-tall destroyer. Chapter 88, Great Bodhisattva Namo Gatling. It was the same binding effect. When Wooden Dragon wrapped around the destroyer, it was more strenuous than when he wrapped around the Hulk and Abomination. This also caused Roger to have no choice but to increase the output of the Wood Dragon Technique's chakra. The destroyer was more challenging to deal with than Abomination and the Hulk because there was no such thing as physical strength in the destroyer route, so the destroyer would not suffer the same effect as Abomination and the Hulk. The longer they were entangled, the less physical strength they had. Although Wooden Dragon could not absorb physical strength from the destroyer, in addition to drinking the physical strength of the target, Wooden Dragon could also absorb the energy in the target's body. However, an unexpected scene occurs when Wooden Dragon begins to absorb the energy in the destroyer's body. Wooden Dragon successfully absorbed the energy in the destroyer's body, but as soon as the energy was absorbed, Wooden Dragon, who was nearly 20 meters long, was completely ignited. The long hook-nosed wooden dragon turned into a fire dragon in an instant. This sudden burst not only exceeded Roger's expectations, but also made Warriors 3 look at each other. On the way here, the Warriors 3 first witnessed the scene of Abomination falling from the sky, and then they witnessed the scene of the destroyer being sent flying by Roger. When they finally arrived at the battlefield between Roger and the destroyer, they saw the scene of the wooden dragon, who was wrapped around the destroyer, instantly turning into a fire dragon. Although the Warriors 3 had never fought with the destroyer, they knew very well how strong this ultimate weapon made by Odin was. But at this time, they watched helplessly as Roger, an earthling, bound the destroyer. Although Wooden Dragon turned into a fire dragon, Wooden Dragon did not show any signs of being burned or withered. Wooden Dragon could still tightly wrap around the destroyer because Roger was frantically releasing his chakra. After his chakra volume unit changed from level to a tail, he thought he would no longer need to worry about chakra volume for a long time. However, now he found that his idea was a bit too naive. After continuing for about 10 seconds, Roger decisively gave up on maintaining Wood Dragon technique. Without the input of Roger's chakra, the burning wooden dragon soon showed signs of burning. The body of nearly 20 meters slowly eroded by the flames, breaking into pieces and turning into pieces of burning wood. Seeing this scene, the Warriors 3 could not help but sigh. If Wooden Dragon persisted for a while, maybe the destroyer would stop moving because their energy is fully drained. Although the possibility was not high, it was not necessarily impossible. When Wooden Dragon broke into pieces of burning wood, Loki, who was sitting on the throne of the Asgardian palace, suddenly stood up. This earthling was more difficult to deal with than he had imagined. Loki, holding the Gungnir, looked at Roger carefully through the eye of the destroyer. He quickly made a decision and went to the Rainbow Bridge. Without the entanglement of Wooden Dragon, the destroyer also regained its ability to move. Just as the destroyer was about to use the high-temperature beam to eliminate Roger, the hindrance, Roger in front of it silently formed a seal. To Roger, forming a seal was not necessary. However, in order to make the scene become more stylish, he decided to add such a segment temporarily. When Roger finished forming the seal, a giant wooden man over 25 meters tall crawled out from the ground like an ancient beast. Would release, would human technique. Looking at this giant wooden man, which was 4 times his height, the destroyer's self-consciousness immediately judged that it was dangerous. Since absorbing the energy in the body of the destroyer would cause Wooden Dragon to catch fire, there was no need to use Wooden Dragon to absorb energy. If Wood Dragon Technique's advantage was controlling the target and absorbing energy, then Wood Human Technique's advantage was that it looks extremely strong. Even if you had a body made of URU metal, even if you had Odin's divine power as a source of energy. Today, I will defeat you. With a thought, wooden sculpture like a god raised its fists. Boom, 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 boom. FCK strategy. FCK combat skills. Brute power is the true justice. Under Roger's control, wooden sculpture seemed to have transformed into the great Bodhisattva Namo Gatling. Its fists smash so fast that it circled more than 3,600 rotations per second. Great mercy and great compassion to transcend the world. The physical beating of Buddha. Even under the scorching sun, the warriors 3 felt a chill coming from their heart's depths. Was this guy really a human? He must be an evil god that had come from a different world. How could such a person appear in Midgard? He should go around the universe and not stay in this weak world. At this time, Roger did not know what the 3 warriors of the Immortal Palace were thinking. There was only one thought in his mind: to blow the silver-white humanoid armor in front of him into pieces of scrap metal. The sound of missiles exploding constantly sounded, and the ground was constantly shaking. Coulson and others, who first met the destroyer, also rushed over at this time. Then, like the Warriors 3, they looked at Roger, who was emitting a light blue light with shock. In order to maintain this tyrannical and unreasonable physical prowess of wooden sculpture, Roger had practically exerted his chakra to the limit. Time slowly passed. When the 25-meter-tall wooden sculpture finally stopped swinging his fists, a circular pit with a diameter of dozens of meters appeared in front of them. As for the destroyer, it was impossible to see its original appearance at this time. Even the orange-red light in the destroyer's body, which seemed never to be extinguished, had disappeared entirely. It was finally over. When wooden sculpture stopped, everyone present couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief. After confirming that there was no energy on the destroyer's body, Roger ended with human technique and gasped for breath. Such violent output of chakra allowed him to experience what it meant to be exhausted after being exerted. If not for maintaining his image, he wouldn't even want to stand right now. He just wanted to lie on the ground and rest. Just when everyone thought this matter had ended, Mjolnir, which was more than 10 kilometers away, suddenly soared into the sky and flew towards the small town at a speed that surpassed the speed of sound. Soon after, a mass of thunderclouds quickly gathered in the sky. A huge lightning bolt over 10 meters thick fiercely chopped down, creating a booming sound that resounded for dozens of kilometers. Chapter 89. Heimdall after the giant lightning. An incomparably powerful aura instantly enveloped the entire town. Even Roger and the others, who were several kilometers away from the town, could sense this aura similar to the Celestials. Thor had returned. Feeling the powerful aura coming from the town, Roger revealed a trace of doubt. It was just evacuating the residents of the small town, but he could still retrieve Thor's power? Although he still did not know what had happened, he was sure Thor had successfully retrieved his power. It was even stronger than before he had lost Thor's power. Thor held Mjolnir tightly in his right hand, and the clothes on his body turned into Thor's armor. The red cloak fluttered in the wind, and blue lightning visible to the naked eye moved around his body like lightning snakes. Seeing Thor turn back into the Thunder God, Sif and Dr. Foster behind him couldn't help but smile happily. Sif was happy because the Thor she was familiar with had returned. The Thor who had led them to defeat all enemies in their path had returned. Dr. Foster was happy because she had witnessed the resurrection of Thor, from being struck through the chest to his current appearance as a mythical figure. After regaining the power of the Thunder God, Thor was not as excited as he had imagined. Instead, he calmly looked at Loki, who was not far away. "I thought you just wanted to prove that you were stronger than me, but I found that I don't understand you at all. I can tolerate your usual pranks. I can also ignore your usual outrageous actions. But you should not joke about your father's life. You should not provoke the war between Asgard and Jotunheim to satisfy your desire for the throne. Loki, you really did something terrible this time." Thor never thought that his brother would appear behind him and pierce his chest with Gungnir while he was evacuating the town's residents. "I'm also the heir to the throne. I can let Asgard become the best of the 9 realms. I can let the entire universe know how powerful Asgard is. I will prove to Father that I am the most suitable person to become the king of Asgard. It is not me who is wrong. It is the world." Until now, Loki still did not feel that there was any problem with his actions. Become king of Asgard, exterminate the frost giants of Jotunheim, and then lead the armies of Asgard to conquer the 9 realms. Listening to Loki's words, Roger suddenly felt that his usual actions were not worth mentioning compared to Loki. After realizing that Thor once again possessed Thunder God's power, he dragged his exhausted body back to the small town and caught up with Loki in the middle of his speech. "No, you will never become the king of Asgard." As soon as he finished speaking, Mjolnir, who was in Thor's hand, flew towards Loki like a flash of lightning. Then, he directly pierced through Loki's illusion. "He has already left. The current him should be there." Roger pointed to the outside of the small town. When Thor looked in the direction of Roger's finger, he saw the unique teleportation light beam of the Rainbow Bridge. As Thor's younger brother, Loki knew Thor's character better than anyone else. Therefore, after Thor regained control of the Thunder God's power, he left the small town immediately. What Thor and the others saw was just an illusion he left behind. When he returned to the town, Roger had almost been deceived by Loki's illusion. If he hadn't used his Sharingan to observe, he would not have been able to see that this was an illusion. The one controlling the Rainbow Bridge should still be Heimdall. He can help us return to Asgard. Only Hofund in Heimdall's hand can open the Rainbow Bridge. Therefore, after seeing Loki leave through the Rainbow Bridge, Thor instinctively thought that the Rainbow Bridge was still under Heimdall's control. However, he ignored a small problem. The one who could open the Rainbow Bridge was Hofund, not Heimdall himself. As long as one had Hofund, anyone could open the Rainbow Bridge. "I hope so." Roger was not as optimistic as Thor. If he guessed correctly, the one controlling Hofund and Rainbow Bridge was not Heimdall. As Roger guessed, the one guarding the Rainbow Bridge was not Heimdall, but the Frost Giant. As for Heimdall, he was now firmly frozen in ice. After returning to Asgard through the Rainbow Bridge, Loki came to the 2 frost giants guarding the Rainbow Bridge. Whoosh, whoosh, 2 energy beams shot out from the tip of Gungnir, directly turning the 2 frost giants in front of Loki into atoms. This was not the first time he had killed the frost giants. Before leaving Asgard, he had used the same method to kill the king of the frost giants, Laufey. Laufey never thought he would die in the hands of his own son, Loki. The weapon that had killed him was Gungnir, the spear of his nemesis, Odin. If time could be rewinded, Laufey would not trust Loki so easily, even if he was his son. After dealing with the 2 ice giants guarding the Rainbow Bridge, Loki went to the control panel of the Rainbow Bridge and summoned the Frost Giant's artifact, the Casket of Ancient Winters. When the Casket of Ancient Winters, shining with a dark blue light, appeared in Loki's hands, his skin became more like that of the Ice Giant. Only the Frost Giant's descendant could use the Casket of Ancient Winters, just as Loki was trying to aim the Rainbow Bridge at Jotunheim. He heard a crisp sound of ice breaking. Then, a tall figure appeared behind him and sent him flying with a punch. The person who sent Loki flying was none other than Heimdall. Heimdall became the Rainbow Bridge's guardian not only because he had the eye of Heimdall that could sense everything, but also because of his great strength. The guardian of the Rainbow Bridge was the first line of defense for Asgard. If he had not been careless, Heimdall would not have been frozen by Loki's casket of ancient winters, and he would not have lost control of Hofund. Heimdall had just sent Loki flying when he heard Thor's voice. Heimdall ignored Loki, who had been sent flying. He directed the Rainbow Bridge to Thor on Earth and activated the interplanetary teleportation. In the next second, the edge of the Rainbow Bridge shone with a rainbow-like light. In the rainbow light, figures appeared one after another. Thor, Sif, Warriors 3, and Roger. In the end, Thor still fulfilled his promise and brings Roger to Asgard. They saw Heimdall on the control panel, and they also saw Loki holding Gungnir. Chapter 90, Bifrost, Rainbow Bridge of Asgard. Seeing Thor, Roger, and the others appear one by one, Loki's mood instantly became as cold as the casket of ancient winters. He might not even be a match for Thor alone. Moreover, there was also Roger, who could defeat the destroyer next to Thor. At this time, Loki began to regret why he went to Earth. Why would he want to stop Thor from evacuating the town's residents? It was one thing to stop Thor, but why did he want to kill him? If he didn't kill him, everything would never happen. Loki, surrender. Even now, Thor is unwilling to push Loki into a desperate situation. No matter what, Loki was his younger brother, who had accompanied him for thousands of years. Although this younger brother was not obedient and would even turn into a snake to scare him, but he could never be ruthless to him. Surrender? Why should I surrender? I am the evil god of Asgard and the future king of the 9 realms. As soon as he finished speaking, the casket of ancient winters floated into Loki's left hand. In an instant, Loki's skin turned dark blue like an ice giant, and an icy aura that seemed so cold that it could freeze the soul surged out from his body. When Loki called out casket of ancient winters, Thor did not hesitate and directly threw Mjolnir toward Loki. Mjolnir had just flown a short distance when it was hit by the ice energy that casket of ancient winters shot out. In the blink of an eye, an ice pillar several meters in diameter appeared in front of Thor and the others. The ice pillar completely froze Mjolnir. After freezing Mjolnir, Loki did not stop attacking. Instead, he increased the energy output of the casket of ancient winters. Although Loki did not like to solve the problem with force at this time, he did not mind using this barbaric and violent method to deal with all the people in front of him. As a divine artifact of the frost giants, the casket of ancient winters had the power to freeze the entire planet. Although Loki couldn't unleash all of casket of ancient winters' power, it wouldn't be a problem for him to freeze a rainbow bridge. Relying on casket of ancient winters, Loki regained the initiative and then picked up Odin's Gungnir. With casket of ancient winters in his left hand and Gungnir in his right hand. With the amplification of these two divine artifacts, Loki instantly reached the peak of his strength. The Rainbow Bridge was not very wide. After being hit by the casket of ancient winters, most areas had already been enveloped by huge chunks of ice. The casket of ancient winters' ice energy and the energy beams released by Gungnir continuously flew through the Rainbow Bridge, forcing Thor, Roger, and the others to leave the Rainbow Bridge temporarily. Loki originally did not expect to deal with Thor, Roger, and the others here. From beginning to end, he only had one goal: controlling the Rainbow Bridge and destroying Jotunheim. Although Loki was also a frost giant, he had no good feelings toward the barbarians in Jotunheim and would not treat them as his kind. After forcing Thor, Roger, and the others out of the Rainbow Bridge, Loki first used the casket of ancient winters to freeze the entrance to the Rainbow Bridge. Then, he came to the control panel of the Rainbow Bridge and aimed the muzzle of the Rainbow Bridge at Jotunheim. Interstellar teleportation is not the only function of the Rainbow Bridge. Strictly speaking, it was not even the main reason the Rainbow Bridge was designed. The Rainbow Bridge was an out-and-out war weapon. It was an ultimate war weapon with the power to destroy planets. When the power of the Rainbow Bridge reached its limit, the energy beam of the Rainbow Bridge could pierce through an entire planet. As for the interstellar teleportation function of the Rainbow Bridge, it was to send Asgard's army to the enemy planet quickly. Why was the exit of the Rainbow Bridge so similar to a cannon barrel? Because the Rainbow Bridge was originally built according to the specifications of the war weapon. I didn't expect your younger brother to be even more courageous than you, exterminating a race just like that. How oppressive. Roger did not interfere in the battle between Thor and Loki. Even when Loki used the casket of ancient winters and Gungnir to attack him, he did not think of attacking Loki. When it is a family matter, an outsider should not interfere. In the end, this was something that the family should clear. Although the consequences of this family conflict were a bit serious, no matter what, this was a family matter between Thor and Loki. Loki was not like this before. Is inheriting the throne so important to him? Until now, Thor still could not understand why Loki was so eager for the throne, even willing to sacrifice his brother's life for it. After silently sighing, Thor began to summon Mjolnir, which was frozen on the Rainbow Bridge. Under Thor's forceful summoning, the frozen Mjolnir finally broke free from the ice pillar and returned to his hand. I can't let Loki stay on the wrong path. As soon as he finished speaking, Thor raised the Mjolnir in his hand and ruthlessly smashed the Rainbow Bridge. The energy of the Rainbow Bridge came from Asgard. The surface of the bridge was a passageway and an energy transmission tube. The Rainbow Bridge would lose its energy supply if it were destroyed. Naturally, it would be impossible to continue shooting energy torrents to destroy Jotunheim. Are you sure you want to do this? If you destroy the bridge, you won't be able to see Dr. Foster again. Roger silently reminded Thor. After hearing Roger's words, Thor's action of smashing the bridge paused for a second and then began again. Under Thor's all-out attack, cracks began to appear on the hard surface of the bridge. As Thor continued to attack, the cracks began to expand like a spider web. Just as Thor was recklessly attacking the surface of the Rainbow Bridge, a golden-yellow energy beam flew out from the Rainbow Bridge and struck Thor like lightning, sending him flying. When Thor started to destroy the Rainbow Bridge, Loki noticed this. So he broke the ice wall at the entrance of the hall and walked out with the casket of ancient winters and Gungnir. Before Jotunheim was destroyed, he would not let anyone destroy the Rainbow Bridge. He wanted to prove to everyone that he was the most suitable person to inherit Asgard's throne. After being sent flying by Loki, Thor quickly got up and jumped high. "Forgive me, Loki." Seeing Thor jump up and raise the Mjolnir in his hand, Loki instantly read Thor's thoughts. Thor's Mjolnir finally landed on the Rainbow Bridge. Boom! An indescribable energy explosion rang out, and an incomparably powerful energy storm instantly destroyed the surface of the Rainbow Bridge. The Rainbow Bridge was destroyed. The energy storm destroyed the Rainbow Bridge, causing the hall, which was already at the edge of Asgard, to fall directly into the boundless starry abyss. Chapter 91. Odin's Appearance. After discovering that this prodigal Thor intended to destroy the Rainbow Bridge, Roger silently used body flickering technique to retreat a distance. Thor and Loki had super physiques that surpassed humans. They could not worry about the shock waves produced by the energy explosions, but Roger could not resist that. Even if he had Sage Mode, he did not think his physique could compare to aliens like Asgardian. After the gorgeous explosion, it left a big mess. Just as Roger began to sense the traces of Thor and Loki, a powerful life form far beyond his imagination appeared in his sight. A superior life form as powerful as a planet. If Thor, who had recovered Thor's strength, had a small pond of energy, then the super life form in Roger's sight right now was a vast ocean that stretched as far as the eye could see. Compared to this ocean, Roger felt that he was, at most, a palm tree on the beach. After sensing this indescribable super life form, he decisively ended his perception and withdrew all the released chakra and spiritual force back into his body. In Asgard, only one person had this kind of planet-like powerful energy reaction. King of Asgard, the father of Thor and Loki, father of all gods, Odin. Odin, who is wearing armor, a red cloak.
No more novels? Take part in the voting. The most requested novels and those with the most likes will be chosen for publication on euroaudiobooks.com. There, I can upload as much as I want without the risk of receiving a strike. Our 18 novels and other content that exceed what is morally acceptable are only published on Patreon or the free novels page. Remember, the site is funded by donations on Ko-fi and Patreon memberships.